Okay, Smoke and Snow session 28. When last we left our heroes, they had just, after a pretty successful haul, had returned home to their village of New Zealand. So that's pretty much where we're going to pick up. You guys have rolled back into New Zealand, your cart bulging under the weight of the riches that you have recently acquired after raiding a sheltered inlet used by pirates for stashing their loot, taking out the defenders and robbing said loot. Obviously other stuff happened on the way back that we know about, but we're going to skim over that and cut straight back to you guys arriving back in New Zealand. It's early morning when you arrive there. You sort of you camp the previous night, so like about a day's ride away. Set off early in the morning, so it's still like fairly early morning when you get there. It is light, but it's that sort of early morning light where it's very diffused. It's not the bright sunlight of midday yet. You arrive back in New Zealand. You cross the bridge over the river. Obviously the guards recognise you. They sort of greet you. You head past them. There's no problems with that. Everyone in the village knows who you are. And you rumble forwards into the village. However, as you get over the bridge, you're just sort of getting into the village proper. You're moving through the various like wooden buildings that are scattered around New Zealand. There's a few people sort of milling around, people like going to the spot of early morning fishing, checking on their animals, the people who need to be up early. When as you're walking through the village, you've just got off your cart, you start to stretch your legs a bit. Obviously you've been on the cart, or like you've been doing a lot of travelling, probably your joints are a bit sore, you've been sleeping in the wild, stuff like that. As you're sort of walking into the village, leading your cart, you hear a familiar voice from behind you that you recognise as the voice of Alan Rivar, the ice walker woman that you rescued from the pirates, the pirate slavers that you housed in New Zealand. You offered her and the ice walker children that you rescued a place to live in New Zealand. You hear her voice from behind you suddenly shout, "Defend yourself!" What do you do?
You say defend yourselves?
Yeah. Well, actually, it was yourself, not yourselves, but...
And she's got a weapon drawn?
Okay, so Brock, you spin round, you look at this lithe, sort of muscular warrior woman who's every inch an ice walker warrior. You can see that she's not actually carrying a weapon. She has weapons on her, but she's got like a knife. Most ice walkers carry a knife for utility as well as combat, like hanging at her belt. She's wearing a normal sort of furs, although she isn't wearing like all over furs on the top. She's like, her arms, she's got freedom of movement, but she's actually just sort of like holding her fists up like that. However, as she starts moving forward, you and only you, Brock, you recognise, being an ice walker, that what she's actually doing is she's effectively like initiating an ice walker like mating ritual.
Okay.
Obviously the rest of you guys won't know this. You'll just see like this woman looks like she's ready to like bare knuckle brawl you. But Brock, as an ice walker, since many of the tribes have women in charge of the tribes, because it's very much set along the lines of like the men go out and do the hunting and stuff like that, but when it comes to like dealing with things in the home, defense of the home, that's very much seen as the province of the ice walker women, and they are fierce defenders of their home, their children, their kith and kin. And it's pretty much the responsibility of the woman, when it's her time, to choose a strong mate that she thinks will help reinvigorate the tribe, basically. Because if they choose a poor mate, then the future of their tribe will suffer accordingly. Now obviously we know Lan Rivar's tribe has been pretty much wiped out for intents and purposes. by these pirates. There's her and a handful of young children who won't come of age for many years. She's pretty much the only adult of her tribe left.
Okay. And she's a good-looking lass, is she?
She's a very healthy, red-haired, muscular woman.
Yeah.
Are
Okay.
we? So sorry if I missed that part, but are we just now strolling in with our massive loot? pile?
You've basically stopped a little bit away from the village. You've got off the cart to stretch your legs.
Yeah.
You're sort of leading the cart rather than riding it, So you just sort of, let's say, just can stretch your legs a bit. And then you've heard this shout from behind you. Brock's turned around and he's like, "Oh, I know what this is." Whereas you guys look round and there's just this woman chatting, who you recognise, obviously, as Lan Rivar, shouting, "Defend yourself." She's obviously looking at Brock.
Yeah.
And
So
she's giving it like the bare knuckle, like fist fighter, like, like Street Fighter, like moving backwards and forwards, like
Yeah, dancing on the spot like a
that
fox.
sort of thing,
Yeah. So yeah, I'm just like, like whatever that is, and we actually do need to get this stuff into the town and secure. So just leading the. Like I'll get the cart rolling again.
Yep,
It's like,
you
I
continue.
don't need to deal with this.
You continue leading the cart forward. You're like, nah.
Whatever this is,
Nah, mate.
it's not dangerous. So
Yeah.
don't care.
She makes no attempt to interfere with you going about your business and moving on ahead at all.
Okay. Well, seeing that I've basically been challenged, as it were, I'm going to drop off my rucksack
Okay.
and sort of chuck off my gloves, or fur sort of gloves, and I'm going to square up to her.
Okay. So as the equipment falls with like a dull thump to the ground off the no doubt oiled and toned body of Brock, the early morning sun shining down, probably some inspirational power chords like starting in the background. you see her like what looks like the faintest like little twitch of a smirk at the corner of her mouth as she nods at you, and then she drops down into a semi-crouching sort of like ready to go stance, basically, like with her fists sort of held up. And you know, Brock, that in this one-on-one sort of combat, because it is a one-on-one combat, obviously the idea is not to actually beat your enemy to death or anything like that.
Yeah.
The idea is basically just to prove your strength, and the idea of the woman challenging the potential mate is to assess how strong he is and if he's a worthy mate. Because if he's not, and she's like, oh, he doesn't put up, I mean, you don't even have to necessarily beat him, you just have to put up a good fight. But
Yep.
if you can't, then it's deems oh no, it's probably not worth taking this any further, because you're not going to be a good strong continuer of the tribe.
Yeah. So I'll do a bit of sort of dancing around, sort of going around, and I'll move in with the intent to sort of hit her, but I'll on purpose leave an opportunity to see if she's, I'll let my guard down for a split second just to see if she's quick enough and agile enough to take advantage.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. So can you make me a strength check?
Okay. Four.
Okay, so I'm sure that will no doubt be a success.
Oh yeah.
There we go, the dice rolls just popped up. Splendid. So, yeah, this obviously we're condensing this down for the sake of speed, but there's a tussle between the two of them. There's various blows are thrown. You take 2 hit points of damage, Brock.
Mm-hmm.
She takes a few bruises and a few knocks as you sort of going at each other. You can tell she's quite a skilled combatant. She's obviously very strong, very physically capable, and she puts up a good fight. You obviously can tell from the way she's fighting, she's not actually really trying to injure you. The sort of hit point loss you've taken is just you catch an elbow to the face or something like that. She's obviously not actually trying to injure you. You can tell from her sort of jabs and her blows, they sort of aim to basically test your defenses rather than like, oh, I'm trying to beat you into the ground.
Mhm.
And after a while, as this sort of wears on, it probably only takes a few minutes in like real time, but obviously it's all very fast, very quick. Eventually, because obviously you're a practiced adventurer, you've been doing all this stuff that's kept you very physically fit. I mean, you tote around like a double-handed sword like it's nothing. Eventually, your strength does start to prevail, as maybe she's starting to get a little bit worn out a little bit sooner than you, because like you say, you're hardened by not only your Ice Walker life, but also your life as an adventurer. So your greater strength does start to prevail, and eventually you realise that, like, yeah, you're going to be able to win this contest, but it's up to you how you choose to win it. So how do you bring this contest to its conclusion?
Yeah, obviously, like you say, it will go on for a few minutes back and forwards, but I'll be looking to do the classic in this situation of getting a leg behind and sort of, you know, pushing her back and onto her back and obviously pinning her down by sort of sitting on the stomach with her two arms held down, sort of face to face. In like a submission move, basically.
Yeah, no problem.
Dominance.
And that's exactly what happens. As you do that, as she's sort of like lying on the ground, she holds her hands up like that. You've obviously beaten her in this test of strength, which was sort of the point of the whole affair. And as she sort of holds her hand up, she looks at you and she says, I accept defeat. At least there is one man in this village who is worthy enough to help rebuild my tribe.
Yeah, and with that, obviously, I'll jump straight up and offer her an arm to pull her back to her feet.
She takes the arm and you pull her back to her feet. Now, obviously, she's from a different tribe to you. Obviously, there's certain things in common, hence why you recognised what she was doing. But since we've not fully defined this in terms of like the Ice Walker tribe, obviously we don't need to get into the gory details. Obviously, it's a role-playing game. But in terms of like your tribe's traditions, because effectively she's been like, oh right, yes, you're worthy enough to be like a mate to help me rebuild my tribe. In terms of your tribe, what would the next step be in this sort of this ritual, now that you've proven that you're worthy of being like basically becoming like the joint head of like her tribe? Because there are always two heads of a tribe, a man and a woman.
Yeah, so it'll obviously be completed with a celebration of, you know, some note, obviously depending on the situation and finances and all of that sort of stuff. It will be different degrees, but, you know, significant, inviting of anyone that would be applicable to attend. Obviously she's not going to have many people. I've not got many people, but it'll be, you know, my close friends, i.e. the party, sort of heads of the town. We'll look to make sure there's a celebration with plenty of food and drink being the main.
Okay, so obviously a celebration with food, etc., is either going to involve you going out and hunting for food, or it's going to involve you like buying or otherwise obtaining food. So first of all,
that'd be part of it. Yeah,
I'll say first of all, how do you go about obtaining the necessary like victuals for your celebration, and also how do you announce it to your friends and to the village?
Yeah, so that would be one of the first parts, is going out and hunting the actual main meal of the feast, you know, whether that be a large deer or boar or anything that would be available in the sort of fairly near vicinity. So that will be done as a couple, so that will be part of the sealing of the deal. I think that would probably go on first, and then obviously I tell people where I was going to get some food and as part of this, but then the invitation would come once we return, hopefully, you know, with this large beast on some sort of stick tied to the stick, and you sort of pronounce it as you go through town, you know, knocking on people's doors, and with the sort of the bloodied body sort of still dripping as you're walking through town.
Okay, so for the rest of you guys, on the first day back in New Zealand, obviously you've seen this fight going on. Quentin, Malcolm, did you... What were you doing while that was on, or did you just carry on with like Weimar into the village?
Just carried on, mate.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Just left Brock to his business.
Okay, so you guys are in the village, and after like a couple of hours, obviously we'll talk about what you guys want to do in the village. Both Lanrivar and Brock come walking back into the village. They're carrying like a stick between them, and hanging from this stick is the dead carcass, like recently killed, of a large dire wolf that they have hunted in together in the forest. It's brought back through. They seem in great spirits. They're very happy, and this pronunciation, this announcement goes out to all the people in the village, obviously yourselves included, that to celebrate the union of Brock and Lan, and like the rebuilding of this tribe, which technically, Brock, you get to name. I mean, obviously you're sort of co-leader of the tribe has to agree, but you'll get to name it as the other player character. This pronunciation goes out to celebrate the union and the rebuilding of this tribe, which we can name at a later date. You can have a bit of time to think about that. There's going to be a great celebration held throughout the evening. They're going to cook this dire wolf over the fire. They've got some like herbs and various other bits and pieces that they've foraged as well, you know, probably some like root vegetables and stuff like that. They're going to build like a big fire. All the villagers are invited to come along and like eat and drink and whatever. Basically they're saying like, oh, you know, if people want to bring food and drink as well, that's fine. They don't have to, but it's to be a night of celebration. Initially the rest of the villagers in New Zealand are a bit sort of like, oh, this seems a bit strange. We're not too sure about this, because obviously they're all like Leander followers, and there's a distinct waft of the pagan about this whole thing. But to be honest, winter's coming in, food's getting a little bit more scarce. They're not going to turn down a free feed. So gradually people start warming up to the idea. You know, a few people bring in like, I don't know, probably like jugs of moonshine or whatever they've like managed to like make. There'll be like a bit of bread and whatever. So that's going to be going on in the evening, but obviously you're free to do other stuff. So whilst this pronunciation's going on and they're hunting or whatever, what are the rest of you guys up to in the village?
I'm just looking off to see the sage. I've got these magic bottles I need to get looked at.
Okay, well, let's jump to that. So it doesn't take you very long to find that Quelac, you know where his hut is, and after a short while you see the little blue-faced Ice Walker sage with his pointy hat. He's sat looking at some charts and various other writing implements, and he's like scribbling down notes as he's like continuing his research and stuff like that. And as you see, he's like puffing on his pipe, which occasionally he sets down on the table next to him. As you sort of open the door, there's not really any locks or such like that. As you sort of open the door, he looks up and he's like, I didn't realise you were all back in the village. What can I do for you, Quentin?
I found 2 strange liquids.
Okay.
And as the only person around here with knowledge, you know.
You see, he seems quite pleased that you've said that, although he's doing a poor job of like trying not to show it. And he's like, well, I don't know that I'd say that, but I'm certainly happy to take a look at these strange liquids. Where did you find them, if you don't mind me asking?
Near a Wyvern's den.
Oh. He says, well, perhaps you'd better pass them over then, so I can have a look at them. He says, alchemy's not really my thing, but I've dabbled on occasion.
I'll hand him over the iridescent and dark liquid.
Okay, so that's the pearlescent potion and the dark potion. Okay, so first of all, he takes this dark potion. He sort of swirls it around a little bit. Has a bit of a sniff of it. He takes like the world's tiniest like drop on his little finger, and he's like, and he pulls a sour looking face, and you see him sort of like he immediately like grabs a like a water skin and like swirls his mouth out and spits it onto the ground next to it, and he says, well, I can tell you something, that's definitely a poison of some kind. He says, yes, this dark liquid. He says, yes, the sort of acrid taste. I'm glad, and it seems pretty strong. I'm glad I only tasted the tiniest amount. I'm pretty sure that anyone who had more than a sip of it would be in a lot of trouble very quickly, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And he says, let's have a look at this this pearlescent liquid you've got. And he repeats much the same process, only this time when he takes like a tiny little dab on his, he sort of smiles and he says, oh, that's entirely different. He says, yes, I think this is a restorative or a curative of. Hold on a second. Then he starts like rummaging around in his written materials, and he's like, he says, yes, I he pulls open a book, and you can tell it's like a notebook or a journal that's got scribbled notes in. And he says, yes, definitely a curative. I would say this is a general sort of a revivifying tonic of sorts. Probably used to help restore people who have suffered minor injuries, or those suffering from ailments that prevent moving, that sort of thing. Muscular ailments, that sort of thing.
That's great, thanks.
Obviously, he hands them back to you. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Yeah, I found a stone tablet as well.
Oh, okay. Right, well, if you and you hand him over the priest's stone tablet, and he looks at it and he says, "Have you managed to decipher any of these pictograms?"
Some.
He says, "Well, I'm a little bit rusty, but it seems to say the ancient ones who tutored us in the days of old have departed, taking the best of those blessed with their blood." Now we know that the ancient ones, I know from my Valconan history, are this sort of semi-mythical race of beings. Some people, we don't really even know if they're real or not. They were supposed to have tutored the first of the ancient mages, the Senna. This is many people believe they have forsaken us and turned to their pupils, the Senna, for rulership, but I have faith they will return. And then you see this pictogram, that must represent the actual person. I think the name's like Cabrashan or Cabracan. Wait a minute, that rings a bell. And he starts rummaging through his books, and he says, yes, he says Cabracan. He says some sort of priest. I don't have much on him, but yes, there's definitely a reference to him being a man of faith. Possibly a Senna. But yes, this must be extremely old. I mean, based on the writings and the hieroglyphs. I'm not sure what else I can tell you about it, unfortunately.
Just the link to a name proves the point of where it was.
He says, yes, well, this person seems to be saying something about these these ancient ones departing. And we certainly know, although there's some doubt amongst academics like myself about whether they even existed or whether they're some sort of myth to justify the rise of the Senna, but the person who wrote this definitely seems to have regarded them as real. And we know that in the myths and legends of Valcona, after a certain date, there ceases to be any mention of these ancient ones. So perhaps this is revealing something of the nature of why that is. Perhaps they did it, either they or the people that this myth is based on really did depart or migrate or leave for pastures new.
Well, thanks. Can I leave that with you?
Yes, of course. I'm more than happy to look after it for you. Is there anything else I can do for you?
No, I'll just let you get back to your day, thanks.
Thank you. And I'll remove that from your sheet. Obviously, you've still got the potions.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Malcolm, what are you up to?
So two things I think I want to do. So the first one is I want to grab Weimar and have a brief chat about the Shadow Elves and whether we want to go to this moot or meeting and see them there. And does the fact that we're expecting them to be there change our stance, or are we still? Because I'm not sure how I feel about them.
If we're going with the plan, I think we have to go to the moot, or I have to go to the moot. You don't have to, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put our differences aside and
yeah, I'd say for the moment, if for nothing else, let's just see what he's brewing up there. I can't imagine what it would be that he or his, lackeys have somehow communicated to the shadows up north that would have made them join this effort. I can't imagine what that would have been. So at least that would be interesting to find out what that is about.
Yes.
So I'm still of the mind that I should go.
Cool. Okay. So then I would like to I'm guessing I've built a shrine to the judge somewhere in the village.
Yep, you can certainly have done that. That's well within your means.
And I guess I'll go and I guess kind of sit down there and meditate for a little while. And then I think I want to break out the old Dobie.
Okay.
And yeah, I guess start kind of meditating with the tobacco and effectively trying to work out how best to tame this wyvern, and what information I might be able to glean from the experience we had with it, or any other knowledge that I might have about similar creatures that might allow me to understand what, if anything, I could do to increase my chances of successfully taming it and having it become my pet.
Yep, that is absolutely fine, not a problem. So you sit down at the shrine, you bust out the old adobe, obviously across one of your old adobe doses off. So you get to make an intelligence check. You smoke it and you ponder how you want to tame this wyvern.
Ooh, Success.
Okay, so as you're sort of sitting there and you're pondering this matter, and you're like, right, okay, obviously you want to tame the wyvern. You've got experience with taming a number of smaller beasts, and you know from having observed the wyvern's behaviour before that it is obviously an animal. Obviously that doesn't mean it can't be cunning. Many animals use ambush tactics. It's obviously a predator, so it's extremely dangerous, but it's not a sentient being as such. It's an animal. You know that obviously it's got a very deadly poison that presumably it is immune to. You would imagine that it poisons its prey, and then once the prey has perished, it then eats said prey. Because of the size of it, you would expect that it has to hunt fairly frequently. That would also tie in with, that it drove the large wolves away from the area it settled, so you'd imagine that it killed like a lot of them, because it would need to eat a lot just because of its metabolism and the size of it. Obviously it's got wings, so you think the main danger it poses is probably its maneuverability, because obviously you know that from your previous experiences that in order to bond with an animal, you have to sort of approach it in a non-threatening way, but in order to do that, the animal has to be sort of like receptive to that, and you have to be able to do that. You think the main challenge is probably going to be getting it to stay still for long enough that you can approach it in a non-threatening manner, because you expect, given its wings and the way it sort of swooped down and struck previously with its poison stinger, that's probably its MO. It sort of swoops down on the prey, stings it, flies up again out of danger, waits for the poison to take effect, then once it's sure there's nothing else around, it can then come down at its leisure and finish eating the prey. So you think that's going to be the main challenge. However, the fact that it has to consume a lot could also be a potential way of getting it down, because like most animals, if there's food available, it's not going to turn it down. So you think probably your best bet to sort of ground it, so to speak, and then be able to approach it, was if you could amass like a suitable pile of food that you could then sort of like convince it that it's not going to be jumped by like a larger predator when it comes down to get this food. It's probably much like the people of New Zealand, it's probably not going to turn down a free feed, especially with the cold weather coming in. Obviously it's going to need more calories, more energy in the cold to keep itself going. So the presentation of a suitably large amount of food would probably be your bet to get it grounded. Then your main challenge is going to be approaching it in a way that its first reaction isn't just to like sting you and like add you to the pile of like prey that it can eat at its leisure, because that's probably its like initial response. Like, if something's coming towards me, sting it, wait till it dies, eat it later. That's probably like its initial first response.
Okay. Cool. Interesting.
Okay. So, whilst you're sat there doing that, and you have indeed noticed, and it does hearten you, Malcolm, that you notice like a few like little sort of, I mean, they're not expensive or anything, they're fairly like crude, but like a few little like offerings have been left at this like shrine that you've put there, and obviously you didn't leave them there because you'd know. So some of the villagers must have actually left them there, which is a bit heartening, because obviously everyone in the village has been like, Leander this, Leander that. But perhaps so long without a priest, which initially was worrying them, but obviously the world hasn't ended because they've not had a priest. You built this nice little shrine. Maybe a few of them have started to think, well, give it a go. And in fact, as you're sat there and you're puffing on your old doby, and you've just finished sort of thinking about this wyvern conundrum, you actually see one of the sort of middle-aged women of the village sort of comes up, like wandering up to the shrine, and she's carrying in her hand like a little wooden figure. It's a very crudely carved sort of like human figure. She's obviously carved it herself out of like local sort of fir wood or whatever, pine wood. don't get me wrong, it's not going to win any like sculptural awards or anything, but you know, it's a touching little handmade, like crafted thing. And she comes up, she doesn't seem to notice you at first, and she just like puts it down at the base of the shrine, and then she sort of sees you, realizes you're there, and she smiles, almost like a little bit embarrassed. But you know, she's been like caught putting this like little thing on the shrine, and she says, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb you. I'm a little bit embarrassed, to be honest, but I just thought, since Seth's been so ill for the last couple of days, I thought, well, you know, it can't do any harm, you know. I mean, maybe if I put this there, you know, maybe the judge will smile on us and might make him better. I thought, well, it can't do any harm, can it?"
No, certainly can't. Nothing to be embarrassed about.
Thank you. I appreciate your understanding. He says, to be honest, I'm only really embarrassed because we had those pilgrims come through a few days ago, and obviously they were all sort of for the faith of Leander. So
oh, and where did the pilgrims come from?
she says, well, let's see, it would have been about 4 days ago. They've only recently arrived in Valcona. I think I wasn't directly involved in any conversation with them. I was just sort of like, I overheard. I think they come from Tozan originally. They had a priest leading them, and they were just passing through. Josiah, the headsman, he you know how desperate he is to get a new priest in a New Zealand. He tried to persuade them to stay here, but they were. I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but they were going on about following the words of the prophet Tozan, and they were very polite about it, but they declined his offer to stay in the village. They said they were planning to found a little community of their own. Last I saw of them, they headed further up the river to the north.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I can't really stay longer. I've got to get back to look after Seth. Like I say, he's been ever so poorly the last couple of days.
Ah, yes. Well, the judge, I'm sure, will thank you for your offer.
Oh, thank you. So, but by the way, I know, obviously, I recognise you, of course. I know that you and your friends have only just come back to the village. Just be a bit careful if you're in the woods on the outskirts. Seth, before he bless him, before he got it, he said he was attacked by some sort of creature in the woods. So if you're going out into the woods, just be careful and look after yourself. I wouldn't want anyone else to be stricken.
What sort of creature was he attacked by?
He says, well, I mean, take this with a grain of salt. He was a little bit delirious, poor thing, when he made it back to the village. He said at first he thought he saw a person out in the woods, and he thought maybe it was someone who'd got separated from like a wagon cart or like a merchant cart or something like that. So he's ever such a kind boy. He went over to try and help them, and he says the way he described them, he said, he was all like pale and like frostbitten. So he thought, someone who's been wandering around in the woods, not prepared for the cold, and he went to try and help the man, and the man attacked him. Like, he's got a nasty bite mark on his shoulder. If Seth hadn't been carrying a lit torch at the time, which he fended whatever this man was off with the torch, I should have think what had happened. He managed to stagger back to the village, but bless him, like I say, he was delirious and almost near collapse. The village herbalist has been looking after him, but he just seems to be getting weaker and weaker by the day.
Okay.
And he seems to have these horrible dreams. He wakes up screaming almost every night. I mean,
Okay.
I'm no herbalist, but I've got a bit of knowledge of that area. And then she sort of says, "I'm sorry for Sally, by the way, Sally Theodora. he wakes up screaming in the night, and I'm doing my best with the herbs that the herbalist gave me, but I don't know what else I can do.
Oh, perhaps I could have a look at them and see if there's anything I can do.
Well, if you're sure, yeah, I mean, I'd be. I didn't know you were a medical man, but I'd be. I'm almost at my wit's end. I don't know what to do. I'd be grateful of any. I mean, obviously, I've heard about the deeds of yourself and your companions and how you've overseen protecting the village and directly protected it. And I've heard the tales about you visiting the dwarves to the north and stuff like that. But anything you could do to help, like I say, I'm at my wit's end. I don't know what else I can do.
Yeah, well, I'm no medical man, but I know a thing or two of the creatures of this world. So let me see if I can.
Yes, of course. I'll take you straight. And she basically leads you to one of the sort of wooden buildings in New Zealand. And as you're sort of led in there, obviously it's the normal, like straw mattresses, such like in these like long shared buildings. But you can see that obviously people have tried to like move their sort of mattresses away from one corner of the building to like give this guy some space. And like you can see that a very sort of rough like Hessian blanket has been like strung up over one of the corners of the room to like section it off. She pulls back the blanket, and as she does so, you can see that there's this young man. He looks very pale. He's actually asleep, and he's very restful. He's like tossing and turning, occasionally like groaning a little under his breath. You can see across his shoulder there, they've like wrapped like a bandage around him, and you can see there's like some herbs, like a herbal poultice, like peeping out from underneath the bandage. And she said, "Well, there he is."
Okay, so can I take the bandage and the poultice off and examine the wound?
Yep, you have to take it off fully, but yeah, you like lift it up so you can get a good look at the wound. She's fine with that. She's like, I don't know what to do. Like, you're not going to make it any worse. And you lift it up, and you can see that he does indeed have this like big bite mark, sort of on his shoulder, and it looks roughly the shape of like a human sort of mouth. But like the wounds are like much more like puncture-like the teeth were like sharper than a human's.
Okay, and can you describe again to me the creature I seen dead in Stone Tower?
Yeah, it looked like a sort of emaciated human with like frostbite at the end of its limbs, very pale, and it had like needle-sharp teeth instead of like normal human teeth.
And did it have red?
It had like blood smeared all around its mouth and its neck.
Oh, but so it was actually blood as opposed to red. Okay.
Yeah, when you saw it, the blood was dried, but it was obviously like blood had been splattered there and just like allowed to dry. And
does the timing of that and the timing of this attack line up as that it might be that creature that was dead, or
you think sort of referencing what you were told by Mercy Dixon at Staffstone Tower, unless these things can like move like ridiculous quick, like sort of dragon flight quick, it's probably not the same creature.
Okay.
Because obviously, New Zealand is like a number of days. It's more than like 4 days travel from Staffstone if you're walking. So unless it could like move like the wind, it's not going to have bit this guy here and then like ghosted over to Staffstone.
Okay. And when I kind of smell the wound, or when I kind of touch around it, does it look like there's some sort of toxin spreading in the body, or is it?
You can't see any sign of a toxin, and there's actually like very little like blood around the wound, like at all. Like you'd expect if someone had been bit there, it'd be like, but there's like very little blood there at all, and you can see that the guy sort of like moans a little bit as you're like, but he doesn't regain full consciousness as you sort of lifting the bandage up. You can see like he looks like very pale.
Okay. And would my hunting knowledge allow me to suspect that he's lost an awful lot of blood?
Yeah, obviously you don't even have to make a roll for that. Yeah, you can see from how pale he is and like how pallid and how weak he looks that, yeah, he looks like he's lost an awful lot of blood. I mean, you've seen people who've got injured before and they've lost lots of blood. And he looks like that. I mean, he looks like he's at death's door. You think, like, unless something changes, he's maybe got 2-3 days to, like, tops, if he, like, assuming he, like, keeps getting weaker.
Okay.
And obviously, like, transfusions aren't really a thing.
Yeah, okay.
You can see the with what knowledge you have, you can see from the herbs that the village herbalist has put under this, that they're basically put together like a poultice, which is like, I suppose, like a combination of sort of antibacterial to prevent the wound getting infected, but also it's got like various herbs in that are associated with, you know, like fortifying you and like strengthening the blood and stuff like that. So obviously, like, the village herbalist has realised, like, oh, he's lost a lot of blood, but like I say, because transfusions aren't a thing, beyond sort of like, oh, we're going to give you like broth and food and stuff that helps you recuperate, there's not a lot they can do, really.
Okay. And if I examine his mouth and his teeth, do his teeth look normal, or do they seem to be changing?
Okay, you like pull back his lips, his teeth. First of all, well, I tell you what, let's have some sort of roll. Maybe a wisdom roll. Now, obviously, you will find out information. You're not going to find out nothing, but let's just see how much you find out.
That's a fail.
Okay, so as you're sort of looking at him, you pull back his lips, his teeth appear pretty normal, and you're about to sort of leave it at that, really, and go about your business. You're like, well, there's nothing odd to see here, when as you're looking at him, you notice that sort of above his teeth, where his gums are, there's like odd sort of lumps in his gums, and when you like very gently, you sort of like push them, they feel like quite hard.
Okay. 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 So I'll turn to Sally and just say, he seems to be resting well. Let me speak with my friends, and I will call back tomorrow to see if there's anything else that we can do.
Thank you. It's very much appreciated. Yes, he's at first when he came back, he was awake a lot of the time, but now he seems to sleep mostly. But every time he wakes up, he says he's been having the most horrible nightmares.
Okay.
But yes, and she sort of like clasps hold of your hand in hers. Says, anything you could do, I would really appreciate it. Honestly, I don't know what I'd do without him.
Well, we can.
And she looks very close to tears as she's saying that. You can tell that basically it looks like for the last few days she's been sort of like keeping it together and like taking care of him, and now like someone else is like, oh, maybe I can shoulder a bit of this burden to you. Like, just like the relief is like, you know, she looks very like close to tears. And you can tell that obviously she's presumably like not been sleeping because she's been looking after him. She's been pretty much running herself ragged, and she's pretty much running on adrenaline at the minute. That's like all that's keeping her going, because she's been like by his bedside.
I'll just kind of pat her gently and kind of there. Do what you can for him, and I will return tomorrow and see.
Thank you. And she sort of goes and sits on a little like three-legged wooden stool next to his bed, and she sort of takes hold of one of his like pallid, like thin hands in hers, and she starts sort of like talking to him softly, you know, sort of checking his bandages and stuff like that.
Okay. So, do you want to skip on to Weimar, and then I'll follow up with him afterwards?
Yep, can do. So Weimar.
What sort of timey-wimey stuff to do in the village?
Yeah, we're in a bit of a sort of timey-wimey situation at the minute.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's various stuff going on at different points in time,
Yeah.
but we're sort of just like, we're keeping it all fairly loose at the minute. There's no need to like track minutes and hours and stuff like that. This is basically the first day back at the village.
Yeah.
Brock's
So-
still like giving us like, wait, Brock, that's 12 celebration. You can hear him outside like shouting to the villagers that there's going to be this big celebration like, later on.
It's going to be straight to planning the sort of expansion and construction that we've been talking about. So probably hanging out with the sort of headman that we have in the village.
Yep.
Do we call him mayor?
He's just called the headsman of the village, or
Yeah,
he's just
headsman.
called Josiah. He's like, he's not bothered about
Yeah.
people calling him by his name.
Yeah. So hanging with him, I have a pre-existing arrangement with him as well, and yeah, basically looking to get stone workers, carpenters, all that good stuff all
Yeah.
set up. So like straight into the work of
Yeah, he's basically he's like telling you like, obviously there's people in the village who are like can do carpentry and can do like stonework. Not so much the stonework, but there's a lot of people who can do like turn their hand to a bit of carpentry and a bit of masonry and stuff like that. So he's basically telling you like who the best people in the village would be to like help you with this and that sort of thing. As you're having this conversation, you see one of the few remaining guards of New Zealand comes walking towards you, and he says, "Oh, sorry, Mr. Lonegrove, headsman, I'm sorry for disturbing you." And you recognise it's like the guard who's like on the bridge. You passed him on the way in. He says, "We've just had one of the people from one of the forts turn up with this," and he holds out his hand towards you, and
so he's got a note.
basically, yeah, it's like you see, it's actually like fairly fancy. It's like
Oh, is it a letter?
it's actually like a scroll with like
scroll.
with some wax on it, and like a little ribbon coming off it. You recognise the insignia of the fortress emblazoned on it. It's got like a little like purple and black ribbon coming out of it, and he holds out this invitation towards you.
Yeah. I'll take a knife and peel off the seal and see what it says.
Okay, no problems. So I'm gonna obviously I won't make you read it out, but I'm gonna drop it onto your character sheet so that you've got it for future reference. There we go. So you open this scroll. It's a folded letter sealed with wax bearing the imprint of Fort Eastburn. The letter reads as follows: To the Vanguard of the Immortals. In order to address the growing threat of opportunists from Rohaleen that we will surely face once the darkness of winter has passed, I am inviting several concerned parties to meet up face to face at Staffstone Tower. Given your potential future stewardship of the as yet unnamed tower, now reassigned to be built within the bounds of New Zealand Village, it is our hope you will be able to attend. Please know that this is to be a meeting of minds, and any attempts at violence against any parties present will be looked upon with extreme disfavour. I have also made this clear to all parties in attendance. Yours, Lord Brannan, Fort Eastburn.
Right. Is that text also in the...
Yep, it should be in the description of the invitation to Staffstone.
Here we go. Yeah. So looking for it in my inventory. Yep. So yeah, I'll give the guard a nod, and
He gives you a nod and he returns to his station on the bridge.
yeah, I'll pocket the letter.
Yep.
And yeah, so we had a time frame for it, which we sort of concluded last time that we had time enough to deal with our business here to some extent.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, basically, Weimar's interest would be to get all the work started that we've been talking about. So, like, scope out the land, the 2 tower plots, actually go there, mark out the land, measure it. Yeah, start getting the lumber. Like, it's just construction a go-go.
Okay, no problem. So you start putting that into place.
Yep.
And this is for the second tower, yeah?
Yeah, but like we want to have it all measured out for both of them as well.
Yeah, that's fine.
So that when they turn up with their materials, presumably, we'll be able to say like, oh, we have a plot for you.
Okay, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, no problem. So obviously that's going to take a while, but you crack on with doing that. So Quentin, is there anything else you're doing in the village while all this other stuff's going on?
I'm just staring at the river, mate, just watching it ice over.
Indeed. And you notice as you sort of looked out southwards down the river out to sea, you've started to see like the first sort of small like ice patches sort of forming and like bobbing up and down on the water. Okay, so we're going to cut to later on in the evening with you guys all effectively meeting up in the village after you've done your respective things. The celebration at Brock and Land's union is in full swing. The villagers seem to have now, they've really bought into it. They're like, oh, you know, like one last big feast before like the winter and the months of hardship. So they're all really like throwing themselves into it. You know, drinks are getting passed around. There's a couple of fires burning. There's a large fire that Brock and Lan have built. You know, they've got like a big spit with this like wolf like turning. There's like a young village lad like turning the spit with this wolf like rotating on it. People are just like coming up and like slicing off bits of meat, and there's bread going around and moonshine and stuff like that. Like Quilak's like bust out like a little bit of tobacco, and he's like passed out a bit to the villagers, and like people are stood around like smoking their pipes, and there's a general mood of like merriment prevailing over the village, but there's also like a sort of slight hint of maybe like worry or melancholy, because like I said, this is like probably going to be the last time they have like cause to celebrate anything. Then it's going to be like months of hardship where like all the food's rationed and like they can't go anywhere and there's no good hunting, and they've really just got to like dig in and hope there's enough provisions for the winter. So although everyone's like, oh yeah, great feast, you know, everyone's getting into it, you can tell that they're sort of like, it's that whole, you know, eat, drink and be merry for like tomorrow we die sort of affair. But obviously not to that extreme, but they're like, yeah, this is great, we're really enjoying it, but like this is the last of the good times before like the winter comes in. So there's an almost sort of like, I suppose, like desperate, frenetic quality to the celebrations. Like everyone's like doubly celebrating and going like really OTT because they know this is the last chance they're going to get for like months and months. At a certain point of the night, you guys are sat around this big fire. Obviously, Lan's like there as well because she's been like chatting to Brock like during the day. You guys are free to talk amongst yourselves as this celebration's going on around you. Obviously, I'm not going to put in like big celebration noises because you won't be able to hear each other talk. But the air, I mean, you're actually having to like shout a little bit to make yourself heard over like the crackling of the fire. You can hear like the sizzling of meat and like the fat dribbling and spitting into the fire. There's people talking and like laughing. A few people are a bit drunk and they're like shouting. You can even hear like Quilak like talking to some people as he's like puffing away on his pipe. You suspect, Quentin, that he might have like slipped a bit of that like good stuff that you like gave him earlier into his pipe because he seems very merry. And he's, you know, as he's sort of like walking around, to be honest, he looks a little bit spaced out. I'm not going to lie, but he seems happy enough, you know. So, you guys around the fire, feel free to talk and plan as you see fit.
So I guess I would explain about the creature that I seen in Starstone, and the teeth and the blood, and young Seth Theodora, who was attacked by a similar looking creature that seems to have taken an awful lot of his blood and left the same kind of deep needle teeth marks. And that now he has, it seems, a similar kind of teeth coming down in his own mouth. And I guess I'm wondering if Brock has any experience with creatures of this nature, because they seem to be snow creatures.
Snow creatures, are they specifically snow creatures?
No, but they're local. I would have thought, or they're
Yeah. Okay, I mean, between like wrestling and such, I'll be sort of going back and forward between the drinking games and that, and I'll be having like real snippets of conversation with the rest of the group, and then going back into wrestle someone to the ground, or arm wrestle, or any sort of tomfoolery that goes on in these celebrations. So, I mean, have I got any memories of such descriptions of creatures in these parts, or anywhere in the frozen wastelands?
So yeah, like you say, you're sort of like mingling and doing bits and pieces in between like this chat, and in fact, one of the gods you sort of like wrestled previously in your like celebration, Clarence Jones, sort of like sees you across the fire, and you know, like originally he was like quite standoffish, but like after you had a bit of a tussle and you were like celebrating last time, he seemed to have like warmed up a little bit to you, and he sees you across the fire. He pauses like midway through like lifting up like a drinking horn to like have a big swig of whatever moonshine he's got in there, and he's like Brock, and he like obviously he's on the other side of the fire, and he's like shouting over it to you, and he's like, I trust you're gonna do me the honour of a rematch later on, son.
And with that, I should put down the drink I've got in, and I'm probably already sort of bare-chested. I'll start running towards him.
Yeah,
give him just enough time to get his drink down.
He just like throws his drink down, like shrugs his throws off, and he's like, he says it with a smile on his face, which is obviously good natured. He's like, "Come on, then, you ice walker devil!" And you and him have a bit of like a tussle for a bit, and then while you're doing that, you can make me a wisdom roll, just see what, if anything, you know about these creatures.
Oh, don't hold your breath on this
You
one.
can use intelligence if you prefer.
Oh, blimey. He's on top form.
So you recall that sort of back in the day, there was supposed to be a group of your tribe, say witches, but your tribe like call everyone who's got magic like witches.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're not fond of that magic. They say, oh, like there's this massive tribe of witches that like ruled over Valconin, and everyone was like oppressed under their like reign of like dark evil sorcery, and they travelled far to the east into the great frozen ice flows for some, no doubt, ungodly, like dark arcane purpose. And when they returned, there were like only a few of them that returned. And after that, there were always sort of nothing concrete, but there were always odd rumours that like far to the east into like the frozen waste, that like there were like strange creatures and like odd sort of things which should not be. And obviously your tribe were immediately like, the wizards did it. They caused it. There was none of this like bad monster vibe in the frozen waste. Yeah, saber-toothed tigers, like animals that rip your face off, but like that's all like natural stuff. We're down with that. But after the wizards went to the east, there were all these strange rumours about these creatures that, like I say, things that should not be. But it's all very vague because your people, they don't even really like to talk about sort of evil sorcery to them, which is the mere act of like talking about sorcery could somehow like infect you with this like malign like sorcerer's evil.
But there were needless rumours said about it, and was there any rumours of sort of blood loss or?
Well, obviously, a lot of people don't really travel to like the frozen waste to the east, because there's not a lot there basically. But
Yeah.
there were rumours that, you know, like people who went to the east like sometimes disappeared or didn't come back, and it was always put down to like, oh, it's been like an evil place ever since these like evil like witches went there. They did something, and like we don't go there anymore because it's like they've made it into a bad evil place. But like occasionally, like with any sort of tribe, occasionally even amongst the Ice Walkers, you get like some like headstrong young like warrior who'd be like, oh, I ain't scared, and have like evil sorcery over to the east, and they'd head over to like prove their manliness or whatever. Normally when they were coming of age, and most of the time they'd come back and they'd maybe like have a few injuries from animals, and they'd have some pelts and a bit of a story to tell, and that'd be the end of it. However, occasionally some people who went there were just like never seen again. Entirely possible they just died because of like the horrible weather conditions or natural predators, but obviously your tribe already been a bit superstitious about that area. We're like, oh, it's an evil place, like the evil of the place like must have like claimed them, oh, that's why we shouldn't go there, and they were used as like a cautionary tale to try and discourage other people from going there.
None that came back that then sort of went strange or died from sort of lasting wounds or anything like this. Malcolm's discussed about this guy.
There were people who died from injuries, but they were mostly like animal injuries. You know, like someone had come back having been mauled by like a saber-toothed tiger or like a polar bear or something, and they might like, if their injuries got infected, they might like die later on. Because obviously, like, not a lot over magic means not a lot of healing magic as well. So occasionally some of them would die, but like nothing that was like otherworldly about it. It's just like, oh yeah, you ran into like a bear, you got mauled by it, you made it back, but like your wound was infected, or like you were just like you'd lost too much blood, or you were too far gone. So nothing like overtly supernatural that you could like positively say yes, but there's always these rumors. But like I say, your people are like, oh, this area is evil, it's taboo, we don't talk about it, because if you talk about it too much, like the evil of the place that these witches did might sort of seep into you and somehow like infect you even at a distance.
Okay, well, I'll relay that as best as possible to Malcolm, emphasising that I think it's down to the witches and wizards of the past that went out to the east. I've not come across anything like this myself. This bites with what seems to be blood draining or something strange. But if you want to go and investigate, then, you know, I'm happy to join you, as always.
Which is indeed, I guess, is what to do about if this young man grows these teeth and attacks people in the village.
Is that what you think was happening? Seems rather far-fetched, but
yet he has the marks.
What about your sage? Or our sage? Do you think he may be able to shed any light on this situation?
Well, we pay him enough. It's certainly worth asking him. And then I'd be like, you know, Quilak, come join us for a drink. And
he's like, don't mind if I do. And he you know, it's like, as he walks over, Quentin, you look at his eyes are like, and in fact, as he walks past you, he's like gives you a bit of a wink, like a nudge with his arm, and he waves his pipe in your direction.
I'll ask for that pipe, yeah.
Yeah, you have like a drag on it, and you're like, oh, this is like old Dobie with like a little bit of something extra like sprinkled in it. You think, based on your like quick toot, what he's probably done is probably some of like the lotus that you gave him. He's probably like ground it down, and then he's just put like a tiny little sprinkle. Because obviously, when you smoked it pure last time, you were like, oh yeah, we're on this mad like vision quest. Whereas this time, you just feel a bit buzzed. So he's obviously just put like a tiny little amount in his pipe, because obviously he's celebrating like anyone else, and he sort of like takes the pipe back off you, and he sits down on the log. They're all sat around this fire, and he's like, Good celebration, by the way, Brock. Very,
I'll
very
give him
much.
a hearty slap on the back, knock him off.
Yeah, he like stumbles forward a bit and then like rights himself and like puts his hat on, and he's like, oh, well, yes, I congratulations are in order. I've got to say, I don't know a great deal about how your particular tribe does it, and then he sort of you see him, he's like patting down his coat. And you can see inside his coat there's like loads of like pockets sewed on the inside, and he's like, well, I don't have anything suitable on me now, but amongst my tribe, it's traditional to give a gift to yourselves at a situation such as this. Now, I'm sure I can find you something in my hut, but yes, if I forget in the morning, remind me. So I definitely wouldn't want to not give the two of you a gift on such a joyous occasion. Remind me in the morning when I've had a chance to sleep off the celebration.
Yeah, I'll nod and appreciate the offer, and I'll say, Malcolm wants to have a word, and I'll dash off to give another guard an arm wrestle somewhere.
Okay, yeah, you dash off to like arm wrestle some of the guards. Quaylak turns towards the rest of you and he's like, oh, well, what can I do for you?
We have an interesting story for you.
Oh.
Of an interesting creature that I have seen. And I'm wondering if you have heard of such a creature or know of creatures like this that drink blood and that have these kind of sharp needle teeth.
Says, well, there's many creatures that drink blood. Several species of bats. Some of the bears of the frozen north.
This creature looks more like a human.
Oh,
looks like a person, a pale person, frostbitten. Looks like a frostbitten.
Oh, well. He says, let me think. He says, well, I don't know that I've got anything concrete for you, but I'm sure, as you know, my people are somewhat superstitious. Obviously, I've heard of the, well, and he sort of leans towards it. Amongst my tribe, there's a legend of a man who travelled to the east and didn't, seeking to prove himself, didn't take enough provisions or wasn't sufficiently shielded against the elements, and when he was at his wit's end and he was lying there dying in the snow, as he lay there dying, an evil winter spirit entered his body, and when he returned back to his tribe, he was not the same man he once was, and he had strange appetites that the spirit within him required to nourish itself. And so there were certain his hands grew like long and like claws, and he was said to have teeth like tiny daggers.
And do you know if there is any way to drive the spirit out of the body?
He says, well, I believe that, well, the legend goes that this person killed several members of his tribe, driven mad by the possession of this evil spirit. And when they caught him, that obviously, my people are not inclined to the arcane. Many, they once they had gathered and they had cornered him, they bound him, and they attempted, that their shaman attempted to cast the spirit out of him, but all to no avail. And in the end, all they could do was to release the poor fellow from this life, and they burnt his body and they scattered his ashes to the four winds.
Is that the last of they heard from him?
I believe so. The legend certainly doesn't say any more after that.
Okay.
Now, as I say, that's only a legend from my tribe. How true it is, I I don't know. It's one of these sort of legends where like no one claims to have directly been involved in it. It's always, oh, I heard from someone in another tribe whose brother was there and saw it. That sort of thing. You know how unreliable these things can be.
I do indeed. How long is it since the Senate are gone?
A long time.
Okay. So when Quelac and Brock are off doing what Quelac and Brock are doing, I'll tap Weimar on the knee, as we're inclined to do, and ask him, does his friend know anything about these creatures? Might they possibly go back that far?
Well, I suppose I'll put a hand on the hilt and think at the sword, and basically, like, I'll condense some of the sort of attributes that we've been talking about here that I've listened to basically while drinking, and I'll just mention: is this something that sounds familiar from your day? Back all that time.
Okay, as you grab hold of the hilt of the sun sword, but before you even have like a chance to think that out,
Actually project.
It's very strange. Do you remember like back in the old days when you used to have like multiple land phone lines in a house, and like if someone was using the other phone, you'd like pick it up and you'd hear the conversation going on. As you grab hold of the hilt, the sword's actually like already talking to someone, and it's like you've just picked up the phone and you're listening to the conversation, and you hear another, like very faintly, like you're listening to it at the other end of a phone line, you hear like another voice say, "I see he didn't make it again," and then you hear the sun sword say, "Well, he's in a different place, but we're both diminished by his absence." Yes, I can feel the presence of your hand. You've grown close. Well, as it was meant to be, did you even attempt to bond with your hand, or did you just overrun them? Look, he was dying. I offered life. It's not my fault if he bargained poorly. And anyway, what of yours? Do you intend to try and mould him into one of your champions? Well, possibly. When the time's right, I'll set the opportunity before him, and he'll choose his own course, as it should be. Oh, how very noble of you. But tell me, have you told him the entire truth about the three of us? Well, not yet. I mean, I'm sure he suspects he's an intelligent fellow. I'll tell him when the time is right. And I suppose, of course, you decide when that time is. We're not so different, you and I. I'm simply more honest. Well, there's no honesty in you, but when the three of us are reunited, things will be different. So you say, but since it's unlikely to happen, I will just continue to carve out a place for myself in this dreary, dreary world. Well, until we meet again, farewell. And then that conversation cuts off.
I'll take my hand off. I'll put it back down again.
Okay.
So, these monsters, and I'll list like the top 5 things that I think are important from our discussions here.
Yes.
Like some attributes, like the sort of physicality, like what we know about their victim. So. Is this something familiar to you from your day?
He says, well, there are certain types of the restless dead that can pass on their cursed condition to other people. I mean, although I wasn't directly involved, I believe that around the time the Senna brought the Great Winter to this world, they travelled far to the east, and from what I heard from members of the Solar Order at the time, apparently a number of their people were influenced, infected, affected by something they found there, and they were sealed in the ice along with whatever they found. And according to what I heard from the Order, about, and this is going back years, the only a small number of the Senna returned from their mission to the east. But then, of course, the whatever working they did to summon the Great Frost must have been successful, because, well,
Yep. Witness the frost.
Indeed, quite.
Right. Well, I'll share my little snippets here with Malcolm. It's like I think we'll probably have to. Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could actually find one of these, aside from, she of the green in the cave? Wouldn't it be wonderful if we could find like someone who was there and talk about, because now we are reliant on going to places and digging up old remnants of things, and then bring them to the sage to decipher them, because this is knowledge that we should probably have. If this is something that can pass on, as my friend has indicated, this is a problem for the long term, I think.
Yes.
Okay, as this conversation is going on, Quentin, you've been sort of wandering around a bit, mingling in the celebrations and whatever, and you're passing by one of these, like I said, like long shared wooden buildings that like the villagers live in, because obviously there's not enough materials for everyone to have their own homes. They have these big like long houses. You're wandering past all, and from inside you hear this like, no.
Does it sound suspicious? I'll head towards the door and
Yep, you
slowly open it.
you head in, and you can see it's the same building that Malcolm went into earlier. You can see the sort of curtain, the rough curtain has been like pulled back, and you can see this pale sort of like white figure with bandage across him. He's sat bolt upright in this bed. He's like looking around. He looks absolutely like scared out of his wits. And there's this young woman with him, and she's like, "Oh, be calm, Seth. Because it's just a nightmare. There's no need to panic. You're safe. We're taking care of you. You're in the village." And he's like, "Oh, Sally. Oh, thank goodness." He says, I had that horrible dream about that place again." And you see like he's like, there's a cold sweat sort of like beaded on his pallid, slightly drawn face. She's like, "Calm down. It's just a nightmare. You're fine. You're in the village. There's nothing to be scared of. Look, just rest." And she's like basically trying to slowly like pushing back down the bed. And look, you need to rest. You need to conserve your strength to get well again. So, and he's like slowly relaxing, but occasionally he like keeps like looking around, and he looks almost terrified out of his wits. They don't even notice that you're like standing in the doorway, and he barely seems to know where he is, and she's like focused entirely on him.
I'll slowly back out of there.
Yeah. Yep, you slowly back out.
I'll look for one of the party, whoever's closest to me.
Yeah, you wander back over to the fire. Brock's like arm wrestling one of the guards. There's a lot of laughter and merriment as like people are stood around and they're like egging on, like their favourite person to like win. But it's all in like good-natured fun. You see Weimar and Malcolm are sort of sat there chatting to each other. Quelex like wandered off and he's like talking to some people.
I'll tap Weimar on the shoulder. There's a guy having some serious nightmares about going to a place.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. He doesn't look right. He's pale as
Oh.
well, the coming snow.
You think he's sick? I'll sort of put down whatever we're drinking and get up and...
Obviously, you hear this as well, Malcolm, because you're sort of there as Quentin comes up.
So I'll join as well.
Yep, you wander back over to this building. You see it very much as I described, although the young man Seth, he's still awake, but he's now like lying back on the bed. He's got like a rough-hewn blanket pulled up tight around himself. He's shivering in it, like say cold sweat. He looks terrified. You can see Sally is still sort of like over him, and she's talking to him softly, trying to keep him calm, trying to get him to relax, saying he needs to keep his strength. She's like trying to get him to eat like a little bit of broth, and he eats a little bit of it, but he's obviously like he's very vaguely knows where he is, but he looks absolutely terrified.
As we get there, I'll again lay a hand on the hilt and say, is this something other than just sickness? Do you know?
You hear the slightly more graver than normal sound of the sun sword say, I'm definitely sensing a growing evil in this young man. It's as though some sort of, I suppose you might say like a spiritual parasite, I suppose would be the most accurate, has latched onto him, and as he gets weaker, it's getting stronger. I fear that he is not long for this world, and when he is no more, it will then have control of him.
I'll take the belt off, and I'll take the scabbard, the sword. I'll pull the sword a little bit so that there's a little bit of the blade. I'll just like gently touch it on whatever.
You should do like there's a little beam of light, like
Yeah, it's
not the full like. It's just like
it's not the whole choir. It's just the one.
Yeah,
sort of chorister.
just sort of comes out, and a bit of the light plays over young Seth, who's like lying on this bed, and he doesn't like burst into flames or anything ridiculous like that, but he looks like noticeably uncomfortable when the light touches him.
I'll lower it down slowly, and then we wait for the smooch. There we go. And yeah, I'll lower it down.
It's not just Brock celebrating, man.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I'll touch the sort of naked part of the blade somewhere, like if there's like a a toe or something, I'll just like gently tap it with the blade.
You tap it, and he sort of like pulls his foot away as though it's like in discomfort, and as he does, you can see there's like a mark on the toe where the sword touched. It's not like a burn mark, it looks almost like a bruise.
Yeah. So I'll put the belt back on, and I'll like very gravely shake my head at everyone in the space here. I he's in a real bad way, and he will be worse. And then we will have to deal with him.
Obviously, as you say that, like the young woman looks like, obviously worried, as you're like, we're going to have to deal with him.
With the sword.
She sort of looks imploringly towards you, Malcolm, and she's like, what do you mean?
He has been infected with an evil spirit, and I will show her where his teeth are starting to come down.
Yeah, and as you like peel back his lips again, you can actually see that where these like nodules are, it's almost like now like the very sort of like pointy bit of the teeth has actually started to come out, and like a second set of teeth is like growing in front of his normal teeth, almost like shark style. She looks at it, and she doesn't like, she knows what to say. She's like just aghast and like shocked. Obviously she's never seen anything like this before in her life, and she was feeling like relief like earlier on in the day, because she was like, don't worry, we'll sort this out, it'll be fine. And then you've all like rocked up, and like the man with the sun sword's like, we're gonna have to deal with this sucker. and now she's like, she's gone from the highs of like, oh, it'll be all right, these adventurers are gonna save him, to like, oh my god, they're gonna chop his head off. And she's just like doesn't really know what to say, but she's like looking at you. You can feel like, you see like this pleading note in her eyes as she's like looking at you, hoping that something can be done to like save this young man.
So I'll is Brock here? Brock is doing his business, right?
Brock, would you like to be here? 'Cause if you do, you can quite happily wander in. It's fun.
It depends how much sort of disturbance there is. If it's down on the sort of low if everyone's keeping on the low side, I
Yeah.
probably wouldn't have picked up on it unless you come looking for me, to be honest.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll motion for a closer word with Quentin and Malcolm. Are there any priests or any of the like of any color in whether it's Leander, whether it's the judge?
Haven, there's a friar in Haven. He, relatively junior, didn't seem to have many skills.
I don't think this one's long for the world.
No. And I wonder, does this creature that took him get stronger if he fades away, or if he was to end abruptly?
I think it's a tick situation.
Okay. So I guess I'll take Sally aside and just explain that he is beyond saving. He is turning into one of these creatures.
She's like, surely not. I mean, he's yeah, I know he's injured. He's a little sick, but
you've seen the teeth. The teeth. He will use the teeth to bite someone else, and then
she looks horrified.
That person will get sick, and then that person will get better with the teeth, and then they will both bite someone else, and before you know it, the village will be full of these evil creatures.
But I know Seth's a good man. I know he wouldn't want to harm anyone else. I certainly know he wouldn't want anyone else to get sick.
So
at which point you actually hear the sort of slightly sort of groggy, like sort of sickly sounding voice of Seth, who's sort of lying back on the bed, and he's like, I saw it. He barely even seems to know where he is. He's like, I saw it again, Sally, when I was asleep. The white city in the snow. I saw it again. It was calling to me.
Sally, what else has he said about the city?
He said the first night when he had the nightmare, he said he saw this large white city partly buried under snow and ice, and then every time he's had the nightmare since, he said the city seemed to be like pulling him towards it until a day ago when he woke up, he said he'd almost walked through the city, but he said it was like his feet were moving without him controlling them. And he said he mentioned he saw a frozen figure sat, and she looks like a little bit disturbed as she's telling you this. He said he saw he described it. He said he saw a red king sat on a skull throne, and he said that the last time the first time he had it, he said he was sat there frozen, and then the last time he said that the figure seemed to be like stirring slightly, and he felt as though it was the figure that was calling to him.
Malcolm, you have a better memory for this, I think, than I do. Does this match anything we know? It doesn't sound familiar.
No, I don't think so, and we don't know enough about the smoking mirror, which is the evil that was frozen.
Yeah, and nothing about the. We know that some of these, I think it's very likely that some of these Senna and their contemporaries might be around, very well might be around, and who's to say they haven't set themselves up as the Red King?
Yes.
On the glacier. or something. But anyway, if we don't, like, that's just speculation. But
I will at the, 'cause obviously we've got time between the sessions. At this point, I will interject to remind you, Malcolm, that you have a book that you recovered called in your inventory called the King of Blood book.
that's probably not it. I don't think.
Do you know what? Hopefully, if I click on this, you guys may be able to see that. Hopefully that'll pop up on the screen so you can all see it.
Yep.
That was recovered from the monastery.
Is that the monastery where we found the Wyvern, or a different monastery?
Yeah.
And did we also find the poison and restorative potion in the same monastery?
I believe so.
The King of Blood.
So it's probably for everybody's best interest if he died before his time.
So I guess I'll bring Sally outside and try and calm her down. And
okay, at this point, normally I wouldn't ask for a roll for this, but given everything that's going on, obviously she's going to be very difficult to calm down, so I'm going to ask you to make a charisma roll.
oh, that was so close, but no.
Okay, however, it's not like a massive failure. So you've managed to calm her down a little, but she's still obviously very worried, especially given like, what you guys have been saying. But you managed to stop her like freaking out entirely. But obviously she's still like I say, because she's run herself ragged. She's running on adrenaline, and now you guys are like, oh, I'm afraid he's turning into something. We're gonna have to deal with him. So like she's not calm, but she's not like in hysterics. But you think she's basically like had all she can take at the moment. Like anything else might like tip her over the edge.
Is there enough noise to attract Brock's attention at this point, do you think?
I think at this point, given that like Malcolm's outside talking with this woman, you've probably noticed that, and you can see how distressed she is, Brock. So you don't know what's going on in their hut, but you can certainly see Malcolm like outside trying to calm down this very distraught-looking woman.
Yeah, I'm going to take a brief pause from the party and just see what's going on, and obviously just get a quick catch-up and see if there's anything I can suggest or help in the situation. So I'll get the rundown. Obviously, you don't need to repeat it. I was going to say, with things like this, I mean, it must be magic somehow involved. Can we not just cut off the head of the snake? Would that not resolve the issue? And maybe...
I think what we're doing right now is seeing if there's any other way to solve the issue.
But will that not remove the curse of this poor fellow if we kill the person who put the curse on us?
Oh, I wouldn't know. Which is why it would be very helpful to have someone with expertise on the matter. But we don't. So.
As you're saying that, Wymore, you actually hear like a coming from like near your hip.
Oh, I think I don't know if it's my connection or yours, John, but I think I lost the sort of latter half of that sentence.
Okay, so as you're talking, you actually hear like this, like in your head, this like coming from near your hip.
So I'll do a quick, check around the room to see if there's anyone there or if it's my friend.
Yeah, it's the sword.
Yeah. I'll think at the sword. Yeah. Do you have something to contribute?
The sword says, well, technically, your friend is correct. If you can slay the creature that has infected him before he enters the final stages, then assuming his body can survive the changes it's already gone through, it may be possible to save him, but given the look of the poor fellow, I'd say he's got a day, 2 tops.
Any way to track these things down?
Well, given that they are of human like a body, they would presumably travel at the same speed as a human. If he was attacked by this creature a day or 2 ago, then it shouldn't have got too far. But as for where it's actually gone, it would leave tracks like anything else.
Presumably human.
I would assume so.
I'll turn to the group here. So that's something that is worthwhile to investigate, I think. Basically, we have 2 options here. I wouldn't count on the young spiritualists that Malcolm you referenced earlier. So I would say 2 options: either we deal with this here, I deal with this here, or we head to where this happened. Malcolm, Brock will look for tracks. They're going to be human tracks, boot prints, such as anyone else, and we make a wild shot in the dark of finding the, I suppose the previous link in this chain.
Well, let us do that and have the guards tie young Set up so that if the evil does come true, he doesn't harm anyone else.
Well, why don't we take him with us on the wagon? And if we have to deal with him, at least we'll be out of town and less distressful.
Is the place we're going to wagon friendly?
The chapel.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get there with your wagon. I mean, it'll take a bit longer because obviously you have to go around the trees and whatever.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
Or just a single horse or something, maybe.
Let's bring the wagon for comfort.
I think it'll be less distressing for this lady and the rest of the village if we do have to do the unthinkable.
So I will go back out to Sally, assuming she's still outside, and say that we think we have a plan to find the creature, and we will bring Set with us to try and save him from this evil.
Maybe another charisma roll.
That is a success.
Okay, she looks a little bit hesitant and a little bit worried. You notice she sort of casts like a sort of slightly rueful glance in like Weimar's direction, and but she's like, "Well, if you're sure it's the only way," and like I say, I know he wouldn't want to hurt anyone else.
Yes, and at least then if he does turn, it's far away from the village and he can't harm any of the children.
You can tell she's like suppressing tears, but she sort of starts to speak, but a voice sort of tails off as she's like trying to hold it all back, and she's like, "Okay, if you think that's for the best."
Yes, keep your faith. The judge will see your young man return.
I hope so. I hope so. And whatever happens, thank, and again she clasps your hand. Thank you for all you've tried to do for him.
You are very well. And then I guess we'd have to wait till the morning if we want to go hunting, do we? Or trekking? Is it late at night? Is it?
It's evening now, so yeah, it's fairly late at night. You could try tracking in the dark, but obviously it's a lot easier during the day.
Yeah, plus it's easier when you're not half cut the way Brock is.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Although to be fair, like Brock's massive, so like he can handle himself. Like don't get me wrong, if like from what we consider in modern times like a normal sized person had drunk what Brock had done, yeah, they wouldn't be going anywhere. But Brock's like 6 foot plus tall, built like Arnold Schwarzenegger in his prime, so like he's probably all right. But yeah, like you say, it will be easier in the day.
Okay, so then let us go back to our celebrations, and we can set out at first light.
Okay. So, what we'll do is the rest of the night passes fairly uneventfully. You guys all get a chance to rest. So if you're down hit points, you can cover D3 hit points. Okay. And what I'm going to suggest we do is we pause here. We have like a 10-minute comfort break, use the facilities, refresh your drinks, etc. And then when we come back, we'll jump straight into the next morning, you guys setting out from the village. Does that sound okay for everybody?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, lovely. We'll have a 10-minute break then. Back in 10.
I know. John,
Yes, ma'am.
I was thinking Rising Embers for the tribe
Oh, nice. I like that.
as a sort of new beginning type. Starting a fresh tribe sort of name.
Nice. I'll write that down. Rising Embers.
I wasn't sure Phoenix would be a sort of thing, so I went with Embers.
Nice. I like it.
And you're right if I asked the guys about potentially moving the Friday around if
Yeah.
people are up for it.
Yeah, yeah.
It don't have to be, next week or anything, but
No, that's
Just
fine. Are you
when
alright to, as I said, when we do like the wrap up at the end, obviously,
yeah,
probably the
yeah.
best time to ask.
yeah. But I mean, it's going to affect you potentially having to do 2 weeks in a row or something again.
Well, like I say, it doesn't make any odds for me. It's fine. So
Yeah. All right, that's cool. Cheers.
that's all good, man.
How did you get on last night? I know you sort of briefly mentioned.
Oh, yeah, Anas's game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all good. Because of like stuff we'd done in earlier games and like the way the sort of system works with like XP, we had like a fair amount of like sort of, I suppose like bookkeeping to do at the start, and we ended up starting late for like various reasons anyway. So like, Johannes was trying to like condense a lot down into like a short space of time, and like I say, it just happened that because like what we were doing at the time, like my sort of dwarf character didn't really do a lot in the
No.
in the session because we were basically just like getting ready to like set off on a journey pretty much, because we ain't got time to do the whole like journey. So I didn't really get to do much because I'm like, well, I've got all my kit on me already, I'm good. So it was mostly the two characters, but I was like, to be honest, I did loads of session before. We're travelling to like one of like the lost like dwarven like fortresses, so I'm like, I'm gonna get to do loads there. I'm like, and that's just sometimes the way it shakes out, man. You know, sometimes you get to do loads, sometimes you don't. But I still enjoyed it. It was good fun.
Yeah, listen in. I watched one of the sessions the other week.
Oh, good.
I can't remember which one it was, to be honest. It was one of the early ones.
Yeah.
There's a different player in that one, isn't there?
Yeah, there's me, Matthew, and John Drury playing in it.
John, is it? Because I know you've spoken about Matthew before. And
yeah.
It was a session where he had another one of his legendary bad rolls. I don't know what it was, but he rolled 3 dice and come up with like no, he rolled some ridiculously buffed up roll, like 6 or 8 dice, and he got like no successes or something.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was about. I can't remember now.
Because like Burning Wheel's like a dice pool system, you know. Sometimes it just happens like you've got like all the dice in the world, but like basically like if you get a 4, 5, or 6 on a D6, it's like a success. So sometimes you just roll it and it's just nothing but like 1s, 2s, and 3s, and that's
but I think it was something like he had 5 or 6 1s just to make it even worse.
Yeah.
Just to sort of rub it in.
But I mean, sometimes it goes the other way. Like in the session before last, my dwarven character, I've got this power where basically I can throw these like dwarven rune stones, and you can like foretell the fate or the destiny of like somebody. And I did it on one of the NPCs, and I got like fucking 10 successes on like the roll. And I was like, Shazam, I like know everything about your destiny, like this is what's going to happen, you're going to become a king one day and all of this. And like the last session, Matthew's like summoned up like a restless spirit, and he was just like boom, just like smashed the roll. So it was just like, all right, the spirit appears, it like tells you its name, it's basically like, what would you like me to do, like what do you want to know? So it's very much sort of swings and roundabouts. Like sometimes you just ace the test, and then other times you can have all the dice in the world and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But one of the things I like about the system is when you make a roll that involves some sort of risk, whether you succeed or fail, you effectively get like a little check mark against that skill. And when you get so many check marks, like the skill goes up. So even if you're failing, you're still like improving by doing. Yeah,
I heard that. And was it that the more difficult the attempt, the bigger the sort of tick you get or something?
Yeah, but basically there's sort of 3 types of test. There's a routine, difficult, and I can't remember what the third one's called, but it's like a higher one. And each of your skills next to it is like, right, you need to do so many routine checks, so many difficult checks, and so many of like the third category. And once you fill that up, your skill goes up to the next level.
Right. And is that just like an extra dice at that point, sort of thing?
Yeah, basically. And basically, if you've got like a really high skill to start with, like doing a routine test doesn't get you anything, because that's just like easy stuff you can throw out without thinking about. Yeah. As your skill goes up, you really need to be like making those difficult like life or death sort of rolls to get your skill up any further. Whereas when you first start and you've like, because the way it works in Burning Wheel, if you want to try a skill that you've not got, like the difficulty's doubled effectively. But you then get to put that skill as like, oh, this is a skill in training, and you just have to make, I think it's like 10 tests of any level with that skill. And once you sort of get those 10 tests, you've got like your first dot in the skill, you're like on the ladder, and then you can start working it up. It's like my dwarf, I've got like a skill in training of like using fire bombs, because I used like a firebomb once, and I was like, oh, I haven't got the skill, but because I've done it once, I've got it in training. But like, because we've not had access to that sort of ordnance again, I've not really been able to up it. But it's a cool system.
Yeah, it
can be quite involved, but it's good fun. Again, it's another game where it like rewards like your system mastery, because you have like you have almost like aspects in Fate where like basically if you do certain things or they disadvantage you, you get like fate points. And most of mine are geared so like if like the rest of the party gets in trouble and I help them in that trouble, I get like my fate points. So for me, it's like even if we get into like shenanigans, as long as I'm like helping to get the party out of it, like move things along, I'm always like getting something back from it.
Right. That's cool. Was you thinking of going to Dragon Meet this year?
I don't know whether I will this year.
No.
I'm still a
Yeah, I
bit.
wouldn't- Yeah, I wasn't sure you would, but I thought I'd ask because it was mentioned the other day.
Yeah, I probably won't this year. I mean, I've not really gone to like any of the cons this year.
I know.
I think probably like next year, if things are still like good, then I'll maybe start like going back to some again.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I'll tell you what, man, I wouldn't mind a bit of that Valconan winter weather at the minute, man. It's boiling.
I thought it was a bit better today. But...
I mean, granted, to be honest, the room I'm in now is like the warmest room in the house.
All right, yeah.
I'm actually slightly glad that like for like my new work PC, it's downstairs because like I can have like the big like bay like door open, and it's nice and cool down there. But like this is the only room where like I could fit all my books and like set up a computer and whatever. So
when you say new work PC, is it an old rubbish?
oh yeah, it's not like a new it's not like a new
PC.
computer. It's like whatever cheap shit they fob me off.
All right, okay, yeah, okay.
I mean,
Just checking.
the speed on it's like atrocious. I mean, it may as well be wind up to be honest, but you know, but I'm like, I didn't have to pay for it. If it's slow, I'm just like, what do you want me to do? It's the computer you gave me, so.
Yeah, no, that's cool. Why, or Johanna said he is back.
Yep. Is it one of those diesel powered computers, John?
Yeah, pretty much. You know, you have to like pour the petrol into it. But right, okay. So let's get cracking. So on the next morning, you guys all head out, sort of striking off roughly in a northeasterly direction, following the directions you've got from Sally about where this guy Seth was attacked by this creature, and you start in the sort of early morning light of day. You start poking around, looking for human tracks, basically. So, would you guys who've got the relevant skills like to make your tracking rolls? Okay, so whose roll's that? That's just popped up.
That one's mine.
Yeah, mine's more foraging and hunting, so it's not really tracking. So Malcolm's your man.
Okay, no problem. So you start looking around the area, and it takes you a little bit of time. Obviously, there's been snowfall since then, etc. But you have got the morning light. You're being quite thorough about it. And as you look around, you do eventually find what appears to be a set of tracks. They appear human, obviously barefooted in the snow that appears to sort of like be leading further into the forest.
Okay, so I guess we will start off kind of slowly and a little bit stealthily.
Okay.
I guess stealthily, but at a little bit of pace because we're trying to catch up following the tracks.
Okay.
You can't tell the age of the tracks, really, can you?
Not really.
How much snow's fallen or whatever.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move you guys onto a different map. Obviously wait for that to load. Let me all know when you can see it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
Harp, did you heal during the night?
I did.
Yep.
It just wasn't enough.
Oh,
The
yeah,
10
you're in a
nights.
really bad way.
Yeah, the 10 nights that we've been traveling, none of it has been enough.
It was that big fish.
Okay, so as you guys are sort of moving through this snow-covered forest, following these tracks, eventually you spy a shape up ahead. It looks to be a horse of some kind, presumably dead because it's lying like partially buried in the snow, and you can see there's like a very small like sort of spattering of like blood around it. You can see like obvious wounds on the horse. Obviously all of your tokens are on the map. We're not in like combat rounds or anything like that.
So I would like to slowly approach the horse and look for tracks around the horse and try and work out what might have attacked it.
Okay, no problems. And obviously you guys can all feel free to move yourselves. Like I said, we're not in combat rounds. I'll let you know if that changes. Okay, so as you move up to the horse, you've got on your left, you've got Weimar and sort of Bullseye moving up to that flanky on the right. You've got Quentin moving up, Brock's like just behind you, obviously like ready to go. You move up to the horse, you can see it's covered in a number of bite marks that look very similar to the one you saw previously. And there is this little smattering of like blood on the snow near the dead body of the horse. But I say nothing like the amount of blood you'd expect to see from the grievous wounds that are on this this unfortunately deceased animal. But as you sort of look around, you can indeed see that there's a few sort of like little speckles and drops of blood that seem to lead off into a nearby copse of trees.
Does it look like a wild horse, or is it like a pack horse, or is there any kind of saddle around on it?
It does look like a wild horse.
A wild horse, okay. So I guess I kind of want to follow the blood until it runs out.
Okay, yep, so I'm going to move you to where the blood runs out. So you pass under some large trees and you get to the point where you are on the map, and the blood trail appears to just stop abruptly.
Just as they're walking ahead, John, can I try and ascertain how long this, you know, with my hunting skills and that, how long this animal's been dead? I mean, it's not warm still or anything.
No, you think it's been... I'm not going to ask you to make a roll because you will be able to work this out that easily. You think it's been like killed like in the last day.
Right.
So it's recent, but like you say, it's not like warm, like it's just happened.
Right, okay. That's cool.
So I guess as soon as the blood runs out, I want to look up to see if this creature is in the trees ready to pounce.
Okay, so you move under the trees, you start looking up. As you're doing that, Brock, you've just finished your examination of the horse, and when you look at it, there's something like you can't, something wrong with the horse. You can't quite put your finger on it, and then you realise what it is. Like, this horse looks like really old. Like, it's dead anyway, but it looks like old. Like, as in, it was almost ready to keel over and die of old age. Almost like something's like drained the life out of it.
I should mention that to the group as I sort of catch up with them. It seems to be sort of prematurely aged, this horse. If that helps you to identify this foul creature.
Okay. And as he says that, you look up, Malcolm, and you see this dark humanoid shape, looks like clinging to the branches. And as you look up, you see these dull red eyes look down and meet your gaze. Then it lets out this piercing, like, and just like drops like directly down on you, out of the trees. Obviously, because you had the foresight to look up, you're not surprised. There's no like mad surprise round or anything like that. So let me just make this.
It has to be to my advantage.
There we go. Okay.
I think you found it.
So effectively, what that means is we're into like normal initiative rather than like it getting to have like a free like surprise attack round before you guys did anything. So if you guys want to pick one of your number to make your initiative roll. Can be anyone, it's just a normal d6 roll.
I'll do it because I'm there. Huh. Live with that. 5.
Okay, let me make a roll for the creature. Okay, yep. So you're getting to go first. So basically, as it drops down, you sort of like throw yourself backwards a few steps, and it lands on all fours and sort of like looks up at you again with this hiss, and you can all see it. It's this emaciated, pallid, like half naked, like frostbitten looking humanoid form with these razor sharp teeth. You can see like blood splashed all around its like torso, and its hands, like it's almost like the bones have like sharpened and grown out of the ends of its fingers. As it falls down, you can see that like clutched in its one of its claws, or like one of like the branches it's obviously like ragged off as it's dropped down. And as you watch, the branch that it's holding literally like withers, ages, and like crumbles to dust and just drops out of its claw.
Okay.
Over to you guys. Obviously, you guys can go in any order you want.
So I guess I'll go first because I'm closest if no one objects. So I'm going to say, as I guess I have my sword out because I was expecting this. It's time for you to meet the judge, and then I will swing my longsword, my sword of respect. And that is 14 for 6 points.
Okay, so you swing the sword of respect at this creature, and as you do, it lets out a gurgling laugh and it literally like catches the blade in one of its hands that just like moves like lightning quick and catches the blade, and it sort of like pulls you a little bit closer to it, and in this like gurgled, sort of strangulated voice, it's like, "Your judge has no hold over me."
Okay.
Who wants to go next?
And that's enough for Brock. That's a running in charge, two-handed sword, ready to end this thing as soon as possible.
Okay.
Are you doing like a run by, like batting motion because you move beyond it? Because I like that image.
I like to imagine he does like a dramatic like anime slide past it, like in
Yeah,
the
just
snow,
like-
like
Goes by with the giant swords, just like. "Roar!"
Yeah, just scythe it. Or not, maybe. Let's have a look. Oh, 17.
Okay, you're using your normal two-hander, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, your sword slices deeply into the creature as you like slide past it dramatically in the snow, your hair sort of flowing out behind you. It seems to cause like a very deep wound on the creature, but it doesn't like respond, it doesn't show any sign of pain, and as you skid to a stop and turn round, sort of dropping into a combat stance, you see the wound on it just go and close up.
But maybe you forgot, John. Striking vulnerable monsters at level 4 for the barbarian.
Yeah, very good. In which case, ignore the bit about the wound closing up. It still doesn't show any signs of pain. However, the deep wound you've inflicted on it remains. Thank you for reminding me. I had indeed forgotten about that ability. Okay, I've marked the 4 damage on it.
Cool.
Okay, who's next?
Quentin, are you itching to go or?
I'll shoot it with a crossbow bolt. That's
Yep.
all I've got handy at the minute.
Yep.
Okay.
Uh, 17 for 3 points of damage.
Okay, you fire a crossbow bolt at it. It sticks in like the shoulder blade of the creature. Again, it doesn't seem to like register any sign of pain. It's still sort of like growling and burbling menacingly at a hop. Okay, one more. What are you and Bullseye up to?
Yeah, so we're gonna do like a pincer move with Bullseye. So he's gonna like, we're coming in all like in motion of tactical nature, but what it amounts to is Weimar is trying to get real close, and then pull out the sun sword and give it like take advantage of the fact that it's going to flare right in his face.
Indeed.
So we're
choir.
like, coming in like, oh, we're gonna get you, but the actual trick is I'll look into this like giant flashlight that I have.
Indeed, as you pull the torch out, its head actually like snaps around, and it's like
yeah. Now I'll do a basic ass like fencer lunge, just like trying to like impale it in the middle section.
Go for it, and in case I need to like confirm, I don't think I do, but this is undead.
Yeah, I think we sort of did that with poor cursed friend over here. Here we go. So grayscale. There we go.
Damn.
28, John. Does it hit?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very palpable hit. Okay, I will knock the... It lets out this ear-piercing shriek as the sun sword bites into its undead flesh, the wound blistering and blackening as the sword bites into it. Okay. What about Bullseye then?
Bullseye is for the moment content to basically act as a distraction.
Okay.
To be there, basically, like if, and this is, I know the mechanics, but like he's there to basically try and help Malcolm. Like if there's a possibility of getting in the way with a shield, like he's there for that more than getting it with the axe, because he's kind of picking up on the fact that it's like Brock's real strong. And it didn't even seem to care about that too much. So he's kind of like, well, here to save my friends, not to kill the beasts.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the NPC. So at this point, Malcolm, can you please roll me 2d4?
Oh, Malcolm might not be present.
Oh, that's right. If you want to roll it, that's fine.
I'll toss it. That's 6.
Okay, that's fine. So this creature leaps towards Bullseye, and as it does so, it throws back its head and it lets out this sort of ululating howl, and from the forest around you hear the sound of like wolves, large wolves, howling back in response. And I'm going to roll for its attack on Bullseye. Okay, so it lunges towards Bullseye. He literally leaps out of the way, and you see its razor sharp claws like smash into the tree that he was stood in front of a few moments before. And as it pulls its hand away, again you see like the part of the tree where its claws sunk in, almost like they were just sinking into butter. They went in like nothing. You see like that whole part of the tree just like ages visibly in front of your eyes, just like withers, crumbles to dust, and falls to the floor. Okay, it's back round to you guys again.
Okay, I will go with my sword of respect once again. Oh. And I'll miss him.
Yep.
Even worse this time than the last time.
So you lash out with the sword of respect, and it actually like jumps up, so just like springs up into one of the lower branches of the trees that you're under, and your sword swings through the air that it occupied a few moments earlier. Okay, Brock.
Yeah, I mean, seeing this damage that it's doing to the trees and stuff, he's going to grip his sword just that little bit tighter, and he's just going to really try and lay into this to try and end this as fast as possible. Oh, that could be a hit. Oh yes.
Oh, that's a good hit as well. Okay. So yeah, your blade bites into the creature and it lets out a howl of pain. Okay. Wyvern and Bullseye. Sorry, Quentin, do you want to go first?
I'll try shooting it with a crossbow again. Hits 23 for 2 points of damage.
Okay. Another crossbow bolt thuds into it. Okay. Wyvern and Bullseye.
Bullseye is going to, because there's that like jump away. It claws the tree. Bullseye's gonna smash with the shield, just like do a shield bash in the face, and he's trying to taunt it. He's banging the the axe on the shield. It's like,
Nice.
come on, that's the best you got. And Weimar is going to try for another lunge. Praying that the few times as an archer that he actually got to sit down with the fencing guy, that he actually remembers how this thing works in a real situation with an undead monster in a forest. Okay, praise Gale. 12.
Okay, yep, so he swings his weapon at the creature, slicing into the branch that it's on, but it drops down out of the branch. It's now at ground level again, but he doesn't manage to inflict any harm.
Right. Well, that's. I think that's us, right?
Yep.
That's everyone?
Yep.
Okay. So, I'm going to go on to him. And as I said previously, when you heard like the cry of wolves answering, you see large shapes start emerging from the trees.
We're surrounded.
However, they're not going to get to move this turn because their turn's like arriving on the map, basically. Okay, so let's see how the monster does. Okay, so the monster hits, so rakes Bullseye for 7 damage. You see him fall back, and you notice as Bullseye sort of falls back, cradling this wound on his torso, that as he falls back, he looks noticeably older. And I will tell you now, for game effect, when you earned all that bucket load of XP last session, Bullseye would have gone up a level, which we forgot to do. However, he has just lost a level, so we will not need to make that amendment on his sheet. And like I say, as he falls back, you notice he has like more lines on his face, and he looks physically older. Okay, over to you guys.
Okay, so I will go again. Well, that's better. So that's 21 for 5 points of damage.
Okay, yep, the Sword of Respect bites into this creature. It hisses in pain as your sword bites deeply for 5 points of damage. Okay, Brock.
Right, let's finish this. Ah, 20 for 4 damage.
Okay. Your double-handed sword comes down, biting into this accursed creature's flesh. It's still going, however, despite the fact it's like covered in wounds. There's bits of it hanging off. There's like blood everywhere. Like blood seems to, like lots of blood seems to be like running out of its wounds.
Weakened it for you, Weimar. I'll finish him.
Quentin, you want to take a shot or?
No, I mean,
Yeah. So.
I like
Yeah.
Quentin's like, I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Yeah, like, I'm good. Yeah. Weimar's gonna go in for the kill, with the Sun Sword. Or not, as the case may be. 14, John.
It's not enough, I'm afraid. As you swing the sun sword, it leaps to one side. The sword hits the snow, and you hear the hiss as the snow's melted and turned into steam by the resplendent heat of the sun sword. Okay, anyone else?
Well,
I'll try.
Bullseye is gonna stagger away at this point.
Yeah, we got some new friends arrived as well, haven't we?
Yeah. I think he's gonna give it a shot. Like, can he get to the tree up here? I guess it's not really a matter because the direwolves are so big they came over the wall anyway. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, he's going to stagger back, take out his swap to a bow, take a shot at this one.
Okay.
$14.
Yep, that's a hit.
Oh,
6
nice.
damage.
Yeah, so you hear a yelp from the wolf as the arrow bites deeply into its flank. And Quentin, if you want to take a shot, go for it.
Yeah. No.
Okay. So onto the NPCs. Right, the creature is going to attempt to attack Harp. Okay, that's a 21.
Ooh, that hits.
Okay, you take 2 hit points of damage.
Okay.
Okay, and you feel distinctly older and more haggard. You have now lost 2 experience levels.
Oof.
And sorry, Bullseye's also lost 2 experience levels. I got it wrong when I said 1. But we'll deal with that afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, right, I'm going to move the wolves and do their attacks. As they come galloping into the aid of this creature.
Very busy all of a sudden.
Okay, so we've got 2 on Brock. All bite attacks. Okay, first one misses. The second one misses. So as these 2 dire wolves come in either side of you, Brock, you're fending them off, like kicking them in the face and like punching them and like keeping them at bay. Okay, we've got 1 attacking Weimar. Okay, so that's an 18 to hit.
That hits.
You take 7 points of damage as this dire wolf tears into you with its jaws. Okay, 1 attacking Bullseye. misses. Somehow the haggard, aged form of Bullseye is able to haul himself up into a tree, so just out of reach of this thing. It's going to be able to jump up at him, but for the moment he's managed to avoid it. And we've got 2 on Malcolm. First one misses. Second one. $17 enough to hit you?
No, 21 is the number.
Okay, yep. So these 2 dire wolves come at you, sort of trying to bite and latch onto you, but thanks to your armor and your nimbleness, you're able to avoid them. Okay, it's over to you guys.
Okay, so I will swing at the creature. Oh. And
Okay.
miss again.
Nothing doing, I'm afraid.
No, not my night.
Brock.
This has got to end. Right. I shall swing at this foul creature once more. Be gone, foul
Will do
beast.
That will do it.
19 for 7.
Okay, would you like to describe how you cinematically dispatch this creature?
Yeah, so this creature just took a bite out of Malcolm.
Well, it didn't actually bite him, it just clawed him with its
clawed
hand.
him. Okay, so his attention is obviously distracted towards Malcolm. So I think it feels that it's fairly invincible towards me, but obviously it's learned that's a mistake to make. So yeah, I've taken the massive swing, my 2-handed sword, and just ploughed into the neck of this thing, and it's come straight off of its shoulders, but unusual to the situation, no blood's come out of it, and it's just fallen headless straight
That is
forward.
absolutely fine. Fully down with that description, with one exception. When you chop off its head, a lot of blood comes out.
Oh, right.
It's literally like a blood fountain, just like a humongous gout of, like its whole body was just like a bag for containing blood, and you just squeezed the bag. Just this fountain. Just this fountain of blood erupts. Like anyone who's adjacent to it is now covered in blood, and its body stands upright for a few moments as its head rolls into the snow, and then the body just topples to the floor. And as you watch, you can see the body visibly starts to wither and age and sort of crumble to dust in front of your eyes, until after a few moments all that remains is bones, and then they too start to crumble to dust. That starts dispersing on the winter wind of Valconen.
Yeah, and it brings a very small smile to my face, but almost straight away I realise we're still in sort of grave danger. So
Indeed. However, at this point, I'm going to make a morale check for the dire wolves, since the creature that summoned them is now brown bread. However, they're successful, so they will continue attacking. So we've done Brock. Now we've got Weimar and Bullseye.
Yep. And we're going to continue along that vein, John, as I hot swap, pull out one of my pistols.
Yep.
Give it a go with my my new friend here.
Mm-hmm.
Here it goes. I get a +1 because of point blank. Come on. Okay. Everything's all set up. There we go.
Oh.
Oh, shit. I blew one part of its ear clean off.
Yeah, you blow one of this dire wolf's ears off, and because you've just fired a black powder weapon, obviously they have to make a morale check.
Yep.
So let me roll that for them. Yeah, they're good.
Well, here we go.
Okay, Bullseye doing anything?
Bullseye, hand axe, getting into the beatdown. That was a lot of spinning and not a lot of results.
Yeah, pretty much. It looks as though whatever this creature's done to Bullseye is starting to take his toll. He's moving a bit slower. He looks weary. He doesn't manage to land the blow on it.
And he's breathing hard.
Yeah. Quentin, I mean, Bullseye was pretty old anyway. Quentin.
Shoot a wolf with a crossbow bolt.
Okay, now bear in mind, shooting into combat, there is a chance that you may hit the person who's in combat with the wolves. However, since you've been like static, I'm going to assume that you've been like aiming.
Yeah.
I think you would have been. So basically what that means is you do your roll to hit as normal. So make your roll to hit. Okay, which wolf are you shooting at?
I'm going to go for the nearest one, so it's probably one of the ones on Malcolm.
Okay, so there's 2 wolves on Malcolm. So normally it'd be like you roll a d6, 1 to 4, you've hit a wolf, 5 to 6, you've hit Malcolm. However, because you've been aiming, effectively you need to roll me a d6, and anything but a 6, you've hit a wolf.
4.
Yeah, you're fine. So the nearest wolf to you lets out a sort of squealing yelp as a crossbow bolt hits it in the side near its flank. Let's deduct those points from it. There we go. Okay. Any more for any more? Okay. All right, let's move on to the dire wolves. So the 2 attacking Brock. First one misses. Second one misses.
Oh, blimey.
Okay, the one attacking Weimar.
This is the honeymoon period.
That's it, yeah. Misses. Okay, the one attacking Bullseye. Ugh. Okay, let me just check on Bullseye's hit points. Right, to the wolf leaps up, ragging Bullseye, or Wolf's Eye should we call him, out of the trees, biting into his leg. He's still going, but things are looking pretty dire as far as
I like to imagine though, like he's physically very changed by the dark forces, right? But I like to imagine like nothing else has changed, so he's still like screaming invective against this wolf as it like drags him down the tree. It's like, come on then, let's go another round. I can do this all day.
Is that all you've got? Yeah,
and he's in a bad way right now.
He's in a bad way.
He's not great.
Okay, so the 2 on Malcolm. First one misses. Second one misses. Okay, it's over to you guys again.
Okay, so I will swing at the one that Quentin has shot.
Okay.
That's 15 for 10 points of damage.
Okay. Yep, you slice into the already injured direwolf with the Sword of Respect, spelling its end, and it collapses in the snow at your feet.
Nice.
Okay, Brock.
Can I try and assist Bullseye? Can I move down?
Yeah.
I'm going to try and take a swing at this one, try and give him a bit of support. I don't want anyone else dying today.
Okay.
So I come pushing out through the trees.
Okay, yep, you push through the trees and you hack into the dire wolf that's menacing Bullseye. You've not killed it, but you have scored a serious wound on it as you slice into its lower back.
And I try and draw its attention where possible.
Okay. Quentin.
There's one left near Malcolm, but I'm gonna have to move to shoot. So move to there, and then I should have a big enough target to aim at.
Okay, obviously because you've moved, you won't be able to like aim. So basically that means that it'll be like a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, no, I'm just moving for now.
Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely fine. Basically, next turn, if you spend your move aiming and then shoot, it'll be like 1 to 2. You've hit Malcolm. Anything else, it's the wolf. Okay, so you move to start taking up position. Okay, Weimar and Bullseye.
Okay. Back in the bandolier, the pistol goes. Out comes the Sword of the Sun. Yeah, now it's the full-on choir.
Yeah, there's like church bells going off and everything.
Yep. And the sun goes up and it comes down.
Nice.
Hopefully. On this wolf right in front of me.
Okay.
No. It goes down somewhere far in the west from here.
Okay, what's Bullseye doing?
Yeah, just
Oh man, Bullseye.
I think right now the situation is like he's like the wolf obviously has the upper hand, basically like is on top of him, but he's got his shield in the wolf's mouth and he's just desperately trying to get a hit with the axe.
Okay.
It's like
Sounds good.
barely hanging on. Okay. Come on, old boy.
Maybe Bullseye's best days are behind him. He's struggling. He's breathing heavy. He's like sweating, like the cold's starting to penetrate into his bones. He's moving too slow. He's not able to get a blow on the creature.
And he's only holding the wolf at bay with like the shield is stuck against his chest. Like he's not pushing anything. He's just like got this piece of wood between him and the wolf. Like, ah.
Okay, so to the wolves. So the one that was previously being held off by Brock moves in to the side of you, Weimar. So we've got the 2 wolves that are to the north of you are going to attack you. First one misses. Luckily for you guys, my rolls are incredibly pants at the minute. He says as the second one hits. And does 7 points of damage to you, Weimar. As one of the wolves bites into your midriff. Okay, this one here. If it'll let me ping it.
So that was 7?
Yeah. So that one I've just pinged is going to attack Brock. Misses. Okay, the one down here is going to attack Bullseye again. Ooh. Okay, so the wolf there literally grabs hold of Bullseye, shaking him around like a rag doll, and tears him to pieces.
Vain.
Okay, and we've got one still attacking Malcolm, so I'll roll for that.
Ouch.
It bites into you for 6 hit points of damage, Malcolm. Okay, it's back over to you guys.
I will try and return the favor. Uh, 16 for 8 points of damage.
Okay, yep, the Sword of Respect bites deeply into the dire wolf. Flesh, it is still going there. Okay, Quentin, do you want to take your shot? Obviously, you've been aiming. So you can make your to hit roll.
$23 for 1 point of damage.
Okay, so roll me a d6. If you get a 1 or a 2, you've hit Malcolm. Anything else, it's the wolf.
2.
Okay, so as you're fighting Malcolm, I presume 23 is enough to hit you.
It is, yeah.
So a bolt goes past you, sort of like misses the wolf as it sort of ducks down, but it like grazes the side of your neck, causing you 1 hit point of damage. Okay, Brock.
Yeah, I should have attacked this one to the south of me that's wounded. It's terrible.
Perhaps unsettled by the violent bloody death of Bullseye, you're unable to land a hit on the creature. Weimar. What do you do?
Tag this one for 6.
And indeed, to tag it you do as the Sun Sword bites into it.
In game terms, if you fired another pistol, would they have to make another check, or does it only?
Unfortunately, no, because now
No, I
they
didn't-
understand gunpowder technology. And
I
they
thought
should
that
not
would-
afraid.
Yeah, I thought that'd be the case, but
Yeah.
Okay, so on to the wolves. So 2 attacking Weimar. So another one bites you for 5 hit points of damage. Second one. And the second one bites you for 7 points of damage.
So basically, Weimar is being shredded right now.
Yeah, literally, there's like 2 dire wolves that bit into you, and they're like almost like a dog with like a tug of war, like trying to pull you to pieces. Okay, so we've got the third one is attacking Brock. There'll be 2 attacking Brock now. First one misses you by like the barest whisker. Second one. The second one gets nowhere near you, deftly evade it. So now just the one attacking Markham. Gets nowhere near you. Okay, over to you guys again.
Okay, so I want to try and swing at my one. Ooh, that'll do. Ooh, that'll do.
Indeed it will.
So, on the assumption that that's a dead dire wolf,
It is indeed. You hack it down.
what I want to do is basically use my movement to swap places with Weimar.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
yeah, I was going to
barely
suggest
standing,
he
so-
falls back. Stand
You can just
behind
toss
us.
me away.
Yeah.
I just kind of shove him aside and stand in there in front of him.
Okay, no problems. Okay, Quentin.
I'm going to give Weimar this Revivify potion.
Okay, no problems. So Quentin runs over to you and he holds out this like pearlescent potion that he's got.
Drink it.
Okay, you'll have to help me.
Okay, roll me a d6, Weimar.
Well, it's more than 1, which is
You-
what I was expecting.
You regain 5 hit points as you feel some vitality flowing back into your limbs.
One of the bites closes.
And I've removed
Only
that
7
off,
more to go.
I've removed that off Quentin's inventory. There we go. Okay, so Brock.
Yeah. I'm going to try and tack this one just to the side of Malcolm. Because he's looking a bit surrounded there. Ah, bloody ones.
Okay, so you do manage to hack into it. However, you only score a very sort of shallow cut on it. It is still going. Okay. Any more for any more? Right, on to the wolves then. So, 2 attacking Malcolm.
Ouch.
Okay, you take 4 hit points of damage as one of the wolves bites into you. Second one.
Oh,
You take 3 hit points of damage as another one grabs onto your leg.
Could have been worse.
would have been much worse.
And then we've got 2 attacking Brock.
They finally hit home.
Okay, you take 5 hit points of damage as one of the wolves bites into you.
Okay.
Second one attacking Brock.
Oh, it's all going off.
And you take 5 hit points of damage from that one.
Okay.
As basically these 4 wolves just like tear into Malcolm and Brock. Over to you guys.
I shall just attack this one here. It seems to be injured. Ooh. Whoa. Well, I'm
Nice.
hoping that's another dead one.
Okay, let me just check. And it has exactly 9 hit points. So yeah, describe how you hack that wolf down.
So I guess as it's just after leaning in and biting Brock, and as it's kind of retreating a little bit, I just want to swing my sword down and chop its head off and leave it there bleed. And then snarl at its mate.
And indeed, that's what happens. However, since over 50% of them are dead now, they need to make a morale check, which they succeed on.
Like, can we tame these, Malcolm? Because these are beasts. They don't care about anything.
Okay, who's next?
I guess
Malcolm's
that's
been in
me.
it.
Or Brock.
Yeah,
Brock, you go.
I'll attack this one. Yeah,
Yep.
to the south of me. Try and it's all going horribly wrong all of a sudden.
Okay, Quentin. I suppose you've done the giving the potion, haven't you? So
There's not a lot I can do until I've got a clear line of sight at the minute. So
okay. Any more for any more?
Well, do I get a swing?
Yeah.
Okay. So I stagger this way, I suppose. Well, no, because Malcolm's being face down by these, so I suppose I'll stagger here, and with like my jaw just plastered with this potion's remains. Like my beard stained with it. I'll cough and sputter as I come in with the sun sword. Distinctly not elegant. There's no fencing strategy here anymore. It's just overhand swing. Let's get it done.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Nice.
Let's go.
Yeah, you stagger forward with this wild overhead swing, and it bites deeply into the back of this dire wolf that howls in pain. Okay. So, on to the wolves. So, one attacking Malcolm.
Is there anything I could have done to get the 2 of them to attack me?
Not really, because you're already like engaged in combat with them.
Okay.
That misses anyway. Okay, so there's one that's it's got a choice of you or Wymore basically. So I'm going to make a roll. I'm going to say that on a 1 to 2 it attacks Malcolm. Anything else it's going to go for Wymore because he's just done like serious damage to him. Okay, so it's on Wymore.
Let's go, Wolfie.
assuming a 14 doesn't hit.
Yeah, just barely. And I think it's entirely an accident. Like I accidentally dodged it.
Yeah. I think it sort of leaps forward, lunging at you, and as you're sort of like backing off with the sword, you accidentally like trip over a tree root and sort of like land on your back as it like sails through the air, like over the top of you. And you like quickly jump to your feet, sort of turning around to face it. Okay, we've got one attack. The last one attacking Brock. I'm guessing a 16 probably doesn't hit you.
17, I am.
Okay, so this wolf hurls itself at you, and by the now you sort of fling yourself to one side, and it misses you by like a whisker. Okay, over to you guys.
I will attack this injured one just in front of me. Oh, that's probably not going to do it, is it? 14.
That's a hit.
Okay, so that's 4 points of damage on the injured one.
Okay. So 4 points of damage. There we
I
go.
also want to have damaged it on its nose or something to really aggravate it.
Okay, absolutely fine. Okay, one more.
Well, we're going in. Once more into the breach. Same target. No hit though. I don't think.
No.
Oh, it's a hit.
Oh,
It's a hit.
yeah.
Oh no, yeah.
It's
That's a
barely
hit.
a hit. Yep, 3 damage.
Yep. So as it sort of turns around to face Malcolm, you sort of like drag yourself back to the feet, sort of swinging your sword up from the floor, and you catch it in its back leg. You hear a yelp of pain as the sun sword bites into it. Okay, Brock.
Okay, I shall continue the onslaught against this one. Come on. Oh, another 14.
It's a hit. Yeah, you
We're
hack
barely
into this
clearing the
dire
bar.
Okay, Quentin.
There's a wolf next to Brock, yeah?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm going to have to do a running stab where I intend to run past the bloody thing.
Yep, go for it. Move yourself to where you want to be. Okay, make your attack roll.
Yeah, 3 points of damage.
Yep, so Brock, as you're fighting this huge, shaggy, dire wolf, you hear the soft like footfalls running past it, almost silently in the snow, and you see Quentin dart past it, using like a dagger or something, Quentin, or...
Yeah, I've got a silver dagger.
Yep, so as Quentin runs past it, he opens like a thin crimson line down the flank of the beast as he's like, and just runs past it, slicing it.
Nice.
Okay. Anyone else? Alright, it's onto the walls then. So, one on Malcolm. Misses. One on Weimar. Also misses.
I think that's because I tagged it in the back leg and it whips around so like you, and then I'll just like throw myself on the snow to avoid the snapping jaws that come after me.
Indeed. Okay, and the last one on Brock. Gets nowhere near you, it lunges at you, and you just like backhand it across the face, Brock. And it sort of falls back a few paces. Over to you guys again.
Okay, so I'm going to go for this very injured one and hopefully put him out of his misery. 4 points of damage.
Yep, you hack it down to the snow. It lies dead at your feet. Okay, Quentin.
Stab this wolf in the back.
Okay, I'll move you in. Make your attack roll. Yep, as it's sort of paying mostly attention to Brock, you run in and stab your dagger into its haunches. Okay, Brock. You've seen Quentin run up behind it and he's like into the back of it with his dagger.
Yeah, I try and take advantage of its distraction. Fails miserably.
Indeed. Okay. Any more for any more?
Wyvern has to go, does he?
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
So, I I'll climb over the corpse. I guess standing on the corpse now.
Yep.
Trying to have the high ground. Here we go. Oh, that barely rolled. It would have been a 20, but not in this world. It is a 20 on the pluses, though.
Indeed. So you stagger over this wolf corpse, wildly swinging and slashing at the beast in front of you. Okay, so the one up here, I'm going to make a straight roll. 1 to 3, it's Harp. Otherwise, it's Weimar. Okay, it's Weimar.
Bring it. Oh, don't.
It brings it.
Don't bring it.
Okay, you take 5 hit points of damage.
That was the wound that I just healed. Okay, so it's got my leg.
Yeah.
I'm like,
So basically, as you're staggering over this wolf carcass, swinging it, you're like, bring it. It just launches itself and slams into your chest, biting its jaws around your midriff.
Yeah, so I'll try and hug its head. I'm like, Malcolm!
Anytime you're ready, Malcolm.
Kill it!
About now would be great. Okay, so the dire wolf down here, I'm going to roll a d6. 1 to 2, it's going for Quentin. Otherwise, it's going for Brock. Okay, it's going for Quentin. However, due to your deft, roguish dexterity, as it leaps at you, you nimbly jump out of the way and it gets nowhere near biting you. Okay, over to you guys again.
Okay, I will try and kill this dire wolf before it eats Weimar. Oh, that'll do.
Mom.
4 hit points of damage.
Okay. You do manage to hit it. However, it's still going. Why more? Can you fell this beast?
Well, because it's on me. Somewhat difficult to use the sword effectively. So yeah, I mean, I guess, but okay, well, let's try that. Let's try that. Here we go. There we go.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, so I think what happens is I go in for I'm gonna strike this down, but it squeezes and it's almost blacking out from the pain, and then it just turns into well, if we're gonna go, you're gonna eat the sword as well, and just push it in the craw. like all the way down to the hilt. Like it looks like it's eating my hands because I'm inside of it.
Indeed, and you sort of, as you do so, and you feel this thing, the full weight of this thing, like just become a dead weight on your chest. You sort of fall backwards in the snow, and you're like, as you like heave this thing off you, and with a loud like,
Yeah.
it lands
Now
in the snow.
I was already covered in blood from the creature that we blew up. Also now wolf blood, just steaming with blood and gore.
Indeed.
My own and everyone else's, apparently.
Okay, Quentin,
Keep stabbing this wall.
go for it.
That's it.
No, don't stab the wall.
Okay, we've still got Brock to go though.
Ah,
Oh, there we are.
Look at that.
when I hear the wolf crumbles behind me, which was distracting me because my two colleagues were in quite some dire straits. Now I get some concentration because I know this is the last beast, and I just plough my sword two-handed straight down its throat.
Indeed, and that's what happens, and it crumples into the snow. You all stand there breathing heavily, many of you bleeding from wounds. You look around for signs of other threats, but after a few minutes, nothing else appears to menace you.
Weimar falls to the ground.
Yeah, I imagine one was like,
I'm going to pick Wymore up and take him to the cart and try and make him as comfortable as possible.
Okay.
that's it. He swoops in, picks you up Weimar. He's like, I can be your hero, baby. As he like, carries you off to the cart.
And then I'll go back to collect the body of Bullseye as well.
Yeah, he's in several bits, but you like scrape him together.
Yeah,
He's
I'll do my best.
obviously dead.
yeah. I'd still rather take him back for a proper burial.
I've helped Malcolm to the cart because he's also in a bit of a bad condition.
Yeah, I guess I'll be looking to examine the body to see if there's any sign of this blood king, or anything.
And just sorry to interrupt, but while I put Weimar in the cart, I'm going to give this other guy a once over before I leave him with Weimar to see what sort of state this other guy's in after the beast fell.
Sorry, which guy is it you're looking at? Sorry,
You know, the villager,
Our
the
patient.
patient that
Oh,
we
yes,
brought with
yes,
us in the
yeah.
wagon.
the guy in the cart. He still appears pale. However, you notice that like obviously he's been tossing and turning and like muttering strange stuff in his like sleep as you've been like carting your way through the forest. He now appears to be like resting and much more peacefully.
Right. Well, I'm definitely listening out while I collect up the parts of Bullseye, just in case he stirs. I'm very suspicious of him still.
Well, I tell you what. Let's take it down to a dice roll. So, since you're the one looking at him, Brock, roll me a d6. Anything but one, you grand.
D6. Oh, 6.
Yep. So you check him over. He still looks like malnourished, and obviously he's cold, but he appears to be like resting peacefully. His chest rising and falling regularly. There's no sign of any activity from him. He appears to, for the first time in days, weeks, he appears to be in a peaceful, dreamless sleep.
Reassures me enough to collect up the body.
Okay. No problems. You collect up the body. What do you guys want to do now?
I want to examine what's left of the creature to see if there's any evidence of the Blood King or any, I don't know, writings or
Okay,
icons.
you move over to examine the body, and by now it's a little more than like a pile of dust with like a few bone fragments in it. You don't see any obvious signs of like insignia or anything like that. There's obviously like this huge like pool of like blood staining the snow around where it was killed.
Okay. Suggest we head back to New Zealand for some rest and recuperation. I say as I collapse on the ground.
Seconded.
Good idea.
Yeah, you when you're like, oh, let's head back to the village and rest up for a bit, there are no voices raised in that argument against that. Everyone seems to be fully on board with the let's head back to New Zealand and rest up for a bit plan.
Especially the let's leave.
Okay, so you guys start getting your carts together and you start heading back towards New Zealand. So I'll move us all back onto the main map. Okay, so it's a day's travel back towards New Zealand. Let me just make a roll, see if you have any random encounters on the way back. Okay, so you're travelling back towards New Zealand when all of a sudden you hear a from the cart. There is a jolt and it dips down on one side. As you look over at it, you can see that one of the wheels appears to have struck a rock hidden underneath the snow, and it has broken one of the wagon wheels. Now, a wagon can still move, as long as it's only got one wheel broken, it can still move, but it sort of reduces the speed, basically, to like half speed. Which basically all that means is there'll be like another random encounter roll before you get back. So obviously you're having to move more slowly and you're having to pick your route more carefully.
We put all the weight into the good corner as much as possible to try and, aid it.
Very sensible.
Take the weight away from that corner as well.
And indeed that does seem to help. Okay, so you limp back to New Zealand. It takes a day. Obviously any of you are resting, you can regain 1d3 hit points. Obviously you need to eat a ration each. Normal travelling stuff. But you do make it back to New Zealand. Obviously, when you sort of rolling, your wagon's like limping along. You've probably like patched the wheel up temporarily, but it needs some repairs. That'll cost you a few gold pieces. So if you want to just cross them off, you can easily get that repaired. That's fine.
Yeah. Can we actually buy a spare set of wheels and the equipment to change?
Yeah, that's fine. So 3 gold pieces for like fixing your first wheel, and then we'll say 10 gold pieces, and you've got like a full set of like spare wheels basically, and
cool.
Stuff to go with it.
Like the hammer and nails, whatever.
Yeah. All of the kits like thrown in. That's not a problem. The villagers obviously seen the state you're in, like come out and like help you into the village, and like a couple of the guards helps up like drag the wagon the rest of the way, because they can see you're in a bad way as you head into the village. As like obviously the word quickly goes around that like you're back, etc., and you're in a bad way. You see Sally comes running out towards you, and she's like, "Oh, what happened? Is everything all right?" And she looks quite panicked. Obviously, like most of you are like covered in blood and bits of wolf and wounds. And
I'll try and aid. I've forgotten his name. What was his name? Sorry.
Set.
I'll try and aid him off the wagon and sort of assist him back to Sally to meet up.
He's in a deep sleep, but between the two of you, you're able to like get him back to the hut and get him settled. And you notice as you're getting him settled, like just only very faintly, but just a little bit of like the colours sort of like come back to his cheeks. And Sally is like thanking you profusely as you help her, Brock, saying like, oh, he's already looking like better than he's done in ages, and she doesn't know how she can thank you.
Yeah, I just mentioned that we killed the foul creature that put some curse on him, and he seems to be sleeping much more restfully now, so hopefully I'll make a recovery after some time.
Again, she just words tumbling out of her. She just carries on thanking you, and she obviously goes straight to the bedside of Seth as you lay him down on this straw mattress.
And with that, I say I must help my friends.
Oh, yes, of course.
Back to the group.
Okay, no problems. You head back to the group. You're all reconvened in the in New Zealand. What do you want to do?
I'm going to organise the burial of Bullseye in our little graveyard or whatever we've got. On the outskirts of town or just outside of town or whatever.
No problem. You lay him to rest respectfully.
And I'll make sure there's a weapon like in his hand, on his body, as the Ice Walker tradition. So
Yeah, he can have his shield and hand axe and bow all in the grave.
yep, so make sure he's got weapons in hand for the difficult journey ahead.
Indeed. Does anyone say anything particularly at the ceremony? Obviously, you don't have to.
Well, I suppose I would have said something. Well, we don't really have, because our Leanderite priests keep dying. We
Indeed.
don't have anyone sort of trained in this sort of thing. Well, I would have said, though he was working for coin, that's something we all aspire to here. Prosperity in our own way. And I do feel like every time we put one of our ostensibly friends into the ground, we're way past the point that we could alter our course. This is it. We've staked our ground here with the bodies of our friends, and at least I will own that, and I'll carry that forward to all the negotiating tables, all the towers we decide to build, for what it's worth, anyway.
And I think as Weimar says that, and you've sort of like wrapped up the body so it's not like bits of it falling out, and you lay that to rest in the sort of growing henchman graveyard of New Zealand. I think that's where the sort of slightly more somber than normal like end music starts to play, and we slowly fade to black there. And that is the end of the session. Thank you very much for playing, guys. I hope you all enjoyed it.
Yeah, great.
Cool. And obviously we'll sort out XP and whatnot now, but for now, again, it just remains for me to thank my wonderful players, and for anyone who's watching this, I'm going to end the stream now. Hopefully we'll catch you in the next session.